she gets tired, she tries to hide, but Jenny's alright. Jenny ran, it was a shame, 'cause I think I loved her. Jenny ran, it wasn't a game, at least not for Jenny. wanna show you me. Wait till I'm free, and I will show you. I will show you me. I will show you me. Just call you love again. Just call you love again.
Oh my goodness. It is a bittersweet time, friends, but it is a celebration all the same here at Roleplaying Unlimited. Thank you for joining us for our final televised stream of 2024, our final scheduled stream, I should say, for the Coalescence Chapter 4. We will still have at least 15 plus streams over the next month, largely video game streams and the like, because we have community challenges going on, and our community has deemed 2 of them of the utmost importance. So the only way they're going to accomplish those is if I do my part and make the Beskar mines available for mining and contributions. How y'all doing tonight, friends? Yes, indeed. We got that hype train the other day as well. Amazing, amazing stuff. Two record-breaking hype trains over the last 5 weeks, 6 weeks maybe, like at the absolute most. Like, it has been an absolutely amazing sequence of events. The extra annual supporters that we've gotten this week alone, people stepping up into the Epic subscription, to the Super Supporter subscription, to the Supporter subscription. It's just I am feeling the love, friends. If I were more technologically capable, I would have like an aura of butterflies and like hearts going around me here. Look at y'all contributing to those community challenges. This is the way. Only way we're going to get it done is if everybody is part of it. And we've got a lot of recapping to do here at Roleplaying Unlimited to cover the last 5.5 weeks, the last 15.5 weeks of activity. If I ran 45 sessions in 5 weeks, that's like a session a day. That's like $1 an hour. All right, so here we go, friends. This is where it all began. A beautiful summer's day. Actually, no, we had no part of this campaign that could be described as beautiful, I would say. Perhaps some of the people that we've encountered would be the exception, but the campaign theme and the setting itself, not designed to be beautiful. It is a post-apocalyptic setting known as the Coalescence. It is the results of our endgame from this July, when we had 50 plus characters between players, NPCs, allies alike take on the Sith Lord known as Nihilus, and they won. We did have a few to several character fatalities throughout the mix of that, some of which we were able to make right, others of them not so much, such as the Demon Dragon and the Mistress IG. Both of them were killed / sacrificed in the midst of that combat. The Mistress, intentionally so, she had been infected with this virus from some unknown planet in the far reaches called Earth. And it was a virus that was slowly turning her into an undead creature. And we learned that undead were of particular distaste to Nihilus. He was all about draining your life essence to further feed his psychotic rampage. And with the Mistress, we found a very interesting opportunity in that she was living, but had this virus within her. So Nihilus would target her and hopefully infect himself, and he did. This gave our combined allies at the endgame table the opportunity to lay some whoop-ass on him, layeth the smacketh down, and Nihilus is no more. His mask destroyed, his essence scattered to the 9 hells. That's how we finished our endgame back in July. And then all of a sudden we start off 5 weeks later or so in August, and we've got this weird coalescence of familiar, unfamiliar settings here. We have here before us the most populous city in the Forgotten Realms setting, known as Waterdeep, or Dewey. We also have elements of 1850s feudal Japan from our real-world Earth setting. That does ring a little more true to what we're seeing here. And this is where the Coalescence takes place. We have actually taken these locales from the feudal Japan setting, and we don't know if it's been a direct switch, like nobody's in feudal Japan right now to know if all of a sudden Waterdeep is there, but, I mean, stands to reason this is here, maybe that is there. What's perhaps more important, though, is what is here, and that is a cityscape that at now, instead of being one giant megalopolis, is instead a dozen or so smaller, disconnected sites such as this. And this is where our Sunday morning adventurers began. This was our first table back to the Coalescence. Sunday morning G1 had the honor of kicking us off here, and we started off meeting first a panda bear NPC known as Kubrig Equi, and shortly thereafter the good panda introduced us to an elder who lived in this settlement named Grovta Riley. The task was to go into the infested city of the undead and recover Grovta's family, who he had hoped were still alive, but this infestation, the transformation of the city, all happened so quickly that nobody really has any information on what's going on inside the city walls. Strangely enough, this location right here has been pretty safe throughout the days of the undead outbreak so far. So without further ado, our characters made their way into the city. They went right through the gates, went right up the main path towards the Kolkaw manor here that we see, and promptly were besieged by a number of undead here. We can see, although we did not know at the time, this was definitely something that caused us concern. But we know now what we did not know then, and that is that this was a Class C orange, or zombie, in our very first encounter at the very first session, in addition to a dozen plus other Class D zombies, which at 42 hit points and 108 hit points, respectively, our party of first level characters. It doesn't matter your subscription level, you're not surviving this encounter. So we had to rely a bit on our wits, more so than anything, as we made our way into the Kolkaw Manor and found, much to our delight, that all 4 members of the family were still alive. The father Avarice, the daughter Borsi, the wife Yesna, and the son Marl. Having already drawn a great number of undead here, we tried to lay low for a bit, thinking that perhaps they would go away, but it seems that they had caught our scent on the wind and were not going anywhere. So our stealthier characters actually moved to this site right here, set that barn ablaze, caused enough of a distraction to where they were able to exit out this pathway. And heading down this side, they caught some signs of civility, as we can see marked here on the map. Some of the lights were on inside of the inn houses right here. One of the The stalls at the barn had a horse. And opting not to investigate this area while we had this family of non-combatants in tow, they just kind of left this for another time and proceeded to head right back out the gate where they came and reunited the family over here. We had a lovely meal, a nice evening, part of an evening anyway, before... it was just easier to write it than try to populate the map with that many oranges, because eventually our time of peace came to an end here at the Riley Manor, and a slight rewind, our escape from the city was not completely unmolested. We did unfortunately have an encounter with a number of the Class D oranges that were making their way out from the north right around this intersection, and Kubrig, our panda bear ally, was killed only a few short hours after meeting him. So shortly after that is when we make our way back to the Riley Manor, and we are almost immediately driven out by the presence of 200 oranges that, we just don't stand a chance fending that off or facing against it. Even a well-placed turn undead spell, like there's the radius is not enough to hit all of them. So we come here next to the Ucore map, which is the first map I ever designed for the Enemir campaign setting. It's been redone not very many times over the years. I was very happy with the initial design of it. Somebody I used to hang out with did a very lovely rendition of the entire continent map. This would be included as part of that. And then when I got into playing online gaming and picked up the Incarnate subscription, that's when I designed the map again for online play. It blends in a little better than that old graph paper map with the colored pencils. Although they're still decent looking maps. I made them 23 years ago, and I think they still hold up pretty well. But anyway, here on the Ucore map, we have our Monday and Tuesday tables, which is where we're going to focus the next 10, 15 minutes or so. As we began Monday, actually, more truer would be somewhere over in this location. Our party had met kind of in the wilderness in Text RP before the campaign actually kicked off. And we knew of a potential safe place. There was a building on a lakeside nearby that one of our characters was aware of. So that was actually where we began our campaign, trying to make this little trailer here our home. And unfortunately, it was already the scene of a rather brutal crime scene tape blocking the place off. We've got the chalk outlines on the floor there, and we learned very early on the deviousness of some of these oranges, especially with this little generator room right here. Two of them, in fact, stayed hidden inside of this room the entire time, even while our party did combat, with 6 or 7 of them to initially clear the place and get inside to begin exploring. It wasn't until one of them came over here and opened the door that the zombies jumped out and, haha, surprise, suckers. So we've learned already a bit of their intellect and just how they are different and how they are similar to your traditional undead. And unfortunately, we did not have much opportunity at all to make this place a home or really to search it out much at all. The escape was so quick that they did not even get to grab a first aid kit that was sitting on the table right here. As we can see, a fair number of undead began approaching from all different corners of the map. And fortunately, we did have a cleric in our group who was able to turn undead, but even still, the 8 to 10 of them that were not turned presented enough of a challenge that our party had to get out of there. And you can see, I believe it was a fire bolt or some equivalent spell that went wrong, and we had the porch initially set ablaze. The blaze began to spread through the wall into the kitchen on the other side. It was only a matter of time before the gas-burning stove was probably going to explode and destroy this trailer outright. Our characters had to get the hell out of Dodge, and we can kind of see the ghostly remnants of their tokens here on the eastern side of the map, having made their escape successfully. But much like Kubrick, Bly, played by our good buddy Dom, was caught on the wrong side of the initiative, and the party went, then the zombies went, and then he went. And unfortunately, we can see him in the beginning of what is eventually going to be a perilous death-saving mode event here. So Dom, since this I believe happened in session 2. We spent 2 sessions here exploring and then being routed and trying to get out of here. Like the escape was very, very chaotic and disorganized, as befitting a low-level party of characters, as you would expect. And yes, unfortunately, one character killed, the first magic item, so to speak, left behind. We never really even got to explore the shed here, which would have just had some mundane items of interest. I would have rolled a percentile just to see if anything was useful, perhaps in this crate or these lockers right over here. But nothing pre-planned in that respect. The only thing I had planned really was just to kind of get a potion of healing into your guys' inventory, and we couldn't even do that right, unfortunately. Womp womp. I don't try this out very often. I'm going to take a look at this real quick. Oh, okay. So it's just like a BRB screen, but it says intermission. Sometimes when they say intermission, like they keep the camera on and the chat box on, so like it's like it defaults to a just chat mode from game mode. So I was wondering if that was the case, but yeah, I may jumping back and forth between this here and there, so I can tend to the occasional bit of gardening, as you know. Look at us rolling with 13 viewers. Amazing, friends. Just don't know how to express it, the blessing that y'all are in this lowly GM's life. Yeah, there we go, we're back. Alright, so Monday made their escape, most of them anyway, and yeah, we know one was unfortunately left behind. While they were checking out the trailer here, they did find a map for a very, very interesting location known as Turtle Cove. You may have seen it on the UCore map a few minutes ago when we were there. This at least gave them their next direction for where to head. And for most of these characters who are native to the Enemir setting, the lake absolutely goes here. This big settlement on the eastern shores is an anomaly, to say the least. So we converge Monday to check out Turtle Cove. It is in fact on the way to Turtle Cove that they will have another event, and we will come up to that shortly. We have some Tuesday stuff to cover here now as we get into the cul-de-sac with the plane crash. Oh yeah, this was one of our more exciting, definitely inspired from Lost introductions here, having a burning plane right in the middle of a neighborhood that has just had a zombie outbreak. What better way to get establish the chaos factor right off the bat? And our characters, in fact, began from the tail end of the airplane investigating this neighborhood. And you got to bear in mind that they do not see the map as you and I are seeing it now. They only see what their characters can see. that dry Vegas air combined with that 420. You know it. This was one of the more interesting locations on the Tuesday map here, the game room. We did not fully get to explore this until we had actually cleared the entire neighborhood. But yeah, you can see the DM screen, all the different player stations, character sheets, dice, pizza, snacks, etc. Like any true in-person gaming room should be. And we were our Tuesday group, of survivors of this plane crash almost from the get-go. So we were kind of caught in a conundrum of, okay, we're trying to explore this neighborhood and see if there's anything useful here for us. Likewise, there are people in need of help, and some of our characters fashion themselves as heroes. And we're very quick in trying to respond to take care of these plane crash survivors. And we see the remnants of the undead scattered around this site. Many of the survivors of the plane crash unfortunately were killed. Their tokens were removed, as I think all of them, in fact, failed their saving throws and turned into one of the oranges. Which, when that happens, I remove their tokens and replace them with one of these guys right here. Usually the same token of the one that infected them. So if you see two of them in close proximity, it's either that or it's I was just lazy in setting up my zombies. Because I've got like 3 dozen of these Class D zombies. So you'll see a lot of them repeatedly, but there should at least be a little gap between the repeats, I should say. And in the midst of this combat here, we became aware of other survivors taking residence in this house over here. We heard multiple gunshots coming from this location. We didn't hear much other than that because the plane had just crashed, so the screaming engines, the fire, the debris, the plane breaking apart, all of that is the most predominant noise in the neighborhood here. But even over that, we could hear the gunshots coming from this house. And if you guys never fully explored this location, I can see nobody ever went into the restroom where Corinne, the only one to survive the plane crash and the zombies who chased her down after the fact, she made her way towards the sounds of gunfire, strange as that may sound, and found safety. As soon as they let her here in the front door, she ran immediately through the entryway through here, kind of felt her way through the house, realized this must be a bathroom, and locked herself in here and found a pair of missile launcher and a flamethrower. We still have not found ammunition for the flamethrower, unfortunately, but we did just last night in clearing the mall find some very, very cool rockets for this rocket launcher here. And the survivors living in this house were very much on their final rounds. Like the guns that are sitting here on the tables all have no ammunition to them whatsoever. These are guns that we talked about on Tuesday night of this week when we wrapped the campaign. Just saying that the survivors here who did not participate in clearing the mall, when you guys brought them back, they would have brought all of this extra gear with them, albeit this is really all they have left for ammo is one precious little ammo box, which has hardly anything inside of it. So our group made connections real quick with the survivors of this house. Some of them were not located until later. Tim and Kurt were part of the survivors that were taking up shelter here. Jack, the Labrador, was actually located right by the first building that we began to... we never even really cleared it until we came back. I think this was one of the last buildings that we cleared, although we did have a couple of humorous incidents with our Tuesday Night Barbarian breaking through the metal sliding garage door only to discover that somebody had already broken through the concrete wall a mere 5 feet away and he could have just went right around the corner and came in through that. Or, I don't know, like actually try to use the door and pick the lock. That's always a possibility. Oh yes, these artificers are going to be valuable, very valuable, especially when it comes to reverse engineering some of this technology that we only have limited supplies of. Gasoline, primarily, because we do know where the guy is who knows how to make gas, but we also have characters who are probably more powerful than this character right now and might be able to shortcut the process a little bit as well. But yes, our group of player characters, after meeting up and clearing the initial wave of zombies, we did have some combats spill out as far north as here, into this driveway, this torn down row of hedges. We had some of the combat spill over to here. It was Silkass, aka Senor Smoothbutt, and I have to say I'm very disappointed that I believe it has been 3 sessions now that you have had the item in your possession and nobody has had the pleasure of being introduced to Senor Smoothbutt's super sensory sombrero. So, I mean, you put an item in and name it after the character itself. I named an item Lucky Lantirthi's Longsword, and within the next session, Katie had busted that thing out and was like just kicking all kinds of ass with it. Like she understands, like this was an item that was meant to be used. Meanwhile, Richter's like, I'm too embarrassed to wear this thing. I digress. What, did you not catch Senor Smoothbutt's super sensory sombrero? That was his relic. That's his magical relic. She understood the assignment. Yes, she did. We did have, as I said, though, some of the combat spill over into this area involving Senor Smoothbutt, a.k.a. Silkass. And unfortunately, due to the chemicals and the high-powered machines in this room, in addition to, I believe, an AoE spell, was enough to ignite some of these combustibles and cause a pretty substantial explosion, which threatened to set fire to the entire house. Fortunately, the character responsible for setting the fire possesses a legendary magic item, and this item was coerced into summoning an ice elemental to go put out the fire. An ice or a wind elemental. One of the two of them went over there, put out the fire, and saved this location for us to explore at a later time. I believe most of our tokens are going to be found back at the first building, but we did next head here to the south because there was one zombie banging on the door here for whatever reason. And we later found out it was probably to go reconnect with all the rest of its zombie buddies because first floor was very clear, but level 2... Get a little peek at my organizational process here as well. This is what I pulled from all 6 of our tables and just kind of tried to arrange them narratively in the order that our tables played them out at, but then on your respective pages, of course, you don't. Tuesday wouldn't have Thursday's maps and vice versa, but for this, I created its own special page just so everything would be in one location. But yes, here on level 2, we found a great number of zombies, and this spot in particular, I feel like we spent like a session and a half right there at the top of the stairways and in that little tiny hallway. Brad, Terry, Kimberly, J-Man, and Richter can all attest to that. I think Cedar spent most of the combat actually out here, but he may have gotten caught up in all this nonsense as well. Very tight quarters, and there was somebody dressed as a zombie, and this is the second time now, although in chronological order this would have been the first time. But if you recall, during last night's resolution of the feudal Waterdeep game, we had Marl talking about that while in the middle of running through the streets of the feudal Japan setting and the zombies were everywhere. There were some people who seemed to be play acting as zombies and just kind of standing back watching what was going on. In this room, we had like 7 or 8 different zombies that were inside of here, inside the hallway, inside of the office here down at the end. Exactly, that was what he was saying about covering himself in zombie guts. He saw some people that were doing that, and were kind of observing from the back while all those zombies were tearing apart Marl's family and chasing you guys down. But in this room, there was likewise somebody who wasn't covered in zombie guts, but seemed to be wearing like a zombie skin suit almost, like somebody who had taken this to the next level entirely. Of course, if you're familiar with The Walking Dead, absolutely inspired by the Whisperers, who do the same thing. They capture the zombies, they skin them, they cure the skin, and then they size it for the people who are going to wear it so that they can better blend in with the undead themselves. There's one guy who seemed to have perfected this process, and it was only after this 2-session combat was resolved and we started looking through some of his personal effects that we realized some of his backstory. He must have been related to all of the zombies that were living up here on level 2, because they looked a lot like pictures that he had in his private photo album. So this is why when your characters came up here and started killing the zombies, he immediately started popping his head out the door and taking shots at you guys, and then stepping back inside the hallway. And then once you guys had killed his family as he saw it, he then fled out the window, off of the roof right here, jumped down, and oh no, he didn't go that way. He went this way behind the gazebo by the pool. This is where Mr. Chen made his way. None of us actually saw the true Chen. We only ever saw him covered in zombie guts, but this was the guy who was shooting at our Tuesday group, and I've got him earmarked for a special assignment later on. Don't you worry about that. After we cleared out this house with Tuesday, we then make our way to the Thursday table, where we started our adventures. And this is a map that I spent a few extra minutes on today. It's been said time and again that Thursday had the largest number of NPCs with them at the first session, most of them non-combatant NPCs. We can see here by zooming in, we got a guy with a paint palette, we've got a pretty rough commoner, we've got a couple guys who look like they might be capable of handling themselves in a fight, but one of them is obviously injured. We've got another injured guy here. We've got a girl who brought her goat. This guy is the only one who's armed, carrying an axe. This guy is trying to catch some Z's. And we've got other NPCs just scattered all over the place here, just to kind of indicate these are the characters that our Thursday group had in their protection coming into Session 1. And I saw that she contributed to the community challenge earlier. It will be interesting to see if she is currently in the chat. Yeah, she is. All right. Somebody in the Sunday morning game has been looking for a half-orc for a great number of weeks. And that half-orc has been chilling out with the Tuesday NPC survivors here. And it's only now that we have our home base cleared and we're going to bring all of these people into the fold that one Sahar is going to realize that Taskus is in fact now in her grips. So we will resolve that through the text play here in the next couple of days. Just a little spoiler alert in that respect. That was also partly why I wanted to populate all of this, just to indicate all of the different characters that are here and have been part of the Thursday backdrop. Thursday also began in a very equipped store. That was kind of the trade-off. They had the most characters to protect, but I gave them some disposable magic items, some potions of healing, and what have you, to start off the campaign. And they immediately left our first level character here, Otrell, in charge of watching all of them while they went and had all the fun on the adventures. If they had done what Sunday Morning did, don't imagine most of these characters would still be alive at this point. Definitely her bounty, but the question begs to be asked, like, who's going to pay it at this point? So that is Thursday. We began with some RP. We had a little bit more peaceful exploration in gathering supplies from our starting site before we moved out here. We no longer have Paracelsus Doc with us, unfortunately, but he was a very interesting cleric character who, in private chat with myself, was developing some very interesting theories about the Agent Orange virus and had some experiments that he wanted to do. So it is pretty sad that his character is no longer here with us. But c'est la vie. Thursday took to the streets because they... yes, they heard bells ringing, I believe is what it was. And they went off in direction in searching for that and came into contact with the one known as Noburo. Noburo has been a constant NPC between Wednesday and Thursday. More Wednesday than any others. He also has occasionally appeared in the Sunday morning table, as all three of those tables are connected. And he helped out briefly with slaying these undead, but it was clear that he was not here to help the characters so much as he was off on his own task. And given his movement speed compared to the characters here at level 1, it was a very quick and easy process for him to just kind of step in, kick some ass, and then fly off stage left here while everybody else is still kind of like, whoa, wait, hey, come back. All right. So I'm thinking actually they were not in pursuit of the bells. I think I've got that mixed up with Wednesday crew, because Wednesday pursued the bells and they pursued them to their source. Thursday, however, had spotted a rather large structure off in the distance, and I believe it was Genzo here who used his owl familiar to kind of navigate the land and try to find a place where all of our characters in the group would be safe. So that is what drove us here through the city streets and to our first site here for Thursday evening, the Pagoda. And here at the ground level of this mighty structure, we had some pretty interesting encounters with the first of the 1970s goth zombies. Although still for narrative purposes, they are just Class D zombies like the ones we've been facing in all the other tables. We kicked all kinds of ass breaking through here, and we met a pair of memorable NPCs, one of whom, throwaway name, but I think he has become one of the more memorable NPCs of all of the ones at our tables. Strictly because one of our newcomer players, when we were still fighting this battle out here on the front steps of the Pagoda, where is Balerin? Where's he hiding at? Oh, he's all the way down here hiding in shame. He mistook this as a zombie. Can't entirely blame him, considering like these guys are also like all standing in the same area. But yeah, after Rick was stabbed by our rogue character here, there were some interesting and humorous exchanges between the two of them. We did find one of the Undead Slayer daggers, one of the only ones that we've managed to locate in the field of play. We also had an encounter with the animated helmet here, dormant unless disturbed. And of course, once I mentioned that there was an ornate helmet here, somebody just had to go touch it. And that prompted one of our few encounters with something that was not an undead. And following that, we made our way up to the second level of the pagoda, but that would be saved for next time around, because Sunday evening had an adventure of their own. And in fact, this is jumping the gun a little bit. We should go here first. As Sunday morning started off on this lonely stretch of highway east of Omaha. Oh wait, that's turn the page. But yeah, they did start off here on this lonely stretch of road here. And this shrouded location was the first one that they saw. So naturally, they just started to make their way to it, when they were met by this battle van, driven by a couple of NPCs who we will get to know very soon on the next map, known as Jung and Tongue-in-Cheek. And our NPCs in the battle van warned our players to stay away from Roswell. It is heavily saturated with the undead. Most of the team that they went in there with are not returning alive. So they are heading out of there with all haste. And these characters, being obviously not from the New Mexico setting that these NPCs are used to, offered a ride along. Of course, we've got, and this has been a theme throughout these campaigns so far here in the first 45 sessions, we've got the language barrier issue. We've got characters who speak Common, we've got NPCs who speak English. We've got characters who speak Elven, we've got NPCs who speak Japanese. So spells like tongues and comprehend languages and effects similar to those have been very crucial, in addition to a decent performance skill, so you can kind of pantomime your way to friendship here. But yes, once our characters convened with the NPCs, we made our way here to the location of New Ford. One of, if not the only, stronghold in the region that is run by a man named Marco. I am in charge of these facilities, and people do not question my ways because of me and my methodology. They are all still counted among the living. That is pretty much his main rule. He seems to take it very personally, and you get the impression he has gone through this numerous times. People show up in the settlement, they're very excited to be alive, they're very grateful, they get a hot meal, they get a hot shower, they get a couple nights good sleep, and then they start tossing out the ideas. You know, it would really make this community stronger. You know, it would really be a good idea. You know what I did my last community? You know what happened to your last community? It got burned down. It got destroyed. You're the only one surviving from it. You know why you come here? Because you no longer have old community. He doesn't really, he's not interested in your stories and your ideas. Maybe if he gets the opportunity to know you and trust you. But people that are just showing up to the community, that is pretty much the main rule that he made clear, that he's not interested in your ideas. What he is interested in is refueling all of these vehicles that they've got here at their compound. And it is in that interest that Jung and Tongue-in-Cheek come into play here. We likewise have some other NPCs kind of shrouded in the back that we have not gotten to yet. We've got one named Lukewarm. We've got Nurse Liana, who we've heard about, but we've not actually met. So we do know that there are other people in this community who have valuable skills to contribute to the cause. But Marco presents his community as having a pretty long arm, being able to assist other settlements, communities, if you can even call them that. Like, some people are literally just living in a ranch off the side of the road with 3 members of their family, and they can't be bothered to leave their family home for whatever reason. So Marco prides his community on being able to assist those who are kind of out there in the boonies, unable to assist themselves. But without fuel, all of these lovely battle vans that they've got are useless. So this is where we put all of our characters from Sunday night, in addition to Jung and Tongue-in-Cheek, on our battle van with the last of the community's fuel, so we've been told. And we are heading off to the Riverside Casino in Laughlin, Nevada, where we've heard rumor of a group of survivors, one of whom is supposedly a scientist who has solved the riddle of the fuel. He has figured out a way to create gas from corn oil, of all things. But that is an adventure that has to wait for another time, because our final table that has not yet seen any action here is finally about to, and this is a Wednesday evening. This is where it gets particularly interesting, because it's one of only 2 examples we've had of the Coalescence crossing each other. And everybody here at this table, this was our starting location. We actually had discovered this little area thinking that it was safe, it was unoccupied. And we investigated each of these buildings, confirmed that to be the case, and decided, okay, let's get some rest. And we're actually going to start off the campaign with a long rest. And of course, about an hour, 2 hours into that, we start getting assailed by a number of undead. Our party actually split themselves into the 2 different houses here. We've got windows on different sides that the zombies were able to get in and out of. Likewise, one of the player characters, Topper and Inky, who is trapped underneath the elk here. He actually made his escape from the window here when this zombie came after him and got a little too close for comfort. But as far as the mixing of the Coalescence, once the combat had reached its full tempo, so to speak, this ghostly helicopter with the characters from our Monday night table could be seen, like, just kind of rushing to get on this vessel here before it takes off, and then because it's a ghostly apparition, it vanishes from sight very, very quickly before the characters, and they just kind of earmarked that for later, probably forgot all about it because this was back in session 1, and we've had a number of sessions since then that had a lot more developments. Namely, once we finished this combat, this is where the party heard the bells ringing, and they chose to pursue, accompanied by this guy, Noboru, and also similar to his encounter with the Thursday night table. He literally just kind of plowed through the battlefield here, killed one zombie, and then just kept running off in the direction of the bells, located somewhere over here, maybe. But that led our party, at least, to kind of try to give pursuit. Like, this guy's pretty tough, he's pretty badass, so we're going to at least follow him and see what's going on, and that will take us to the bells ringing site. We did spend a few sessions here. I think I deleted all the zombies because the battlefield we see here does not do it justice. Most of our characters spent a lot of the combat out here in the front yard, right here in the opening hallway. Some of us got here to the garden area where we officially encountered our first Class C orange. And Noboru spent most of the combat here in the dojo fighting like a dozen of the Class C zombies by himself. And because these are paper walls, everybody was just kind of seeing the shadowy silhouettes of the fight. It was kind of like a cool narrative addition, I thought. Lots and lots of blood spatter effects that I added onto the map here just to kind of illustrate the brutality of the combats. And then the ladder in the corner that leads up to the bell tower, where somebody has been ringing the bell for a number of sessions by this point. Sunday morning could hear it, Wednesday night hears it, Thursday night hears it. And finally, after a number of sessions, we do locate who this somebody is. He introduces himself as Moorlander. He claims that he was part of an interstellar group of explorers, and he served as merchant for their vessel. He doesn't know how he got here, why he's here, but shortly after he arrived, he tried to partner up with some people that he thought were trustworthy, and they immediately robbed him, stole his inventory, as he called it, and they left him here to deal with a lot of undead by himself. Thankfully, he had the wherewithal to get up the ladder, lock himself in the bell tower, and realizing the zombies are already here and onto his scent, and they're not going to go away, might as well ring the bell and see if we can draw other people here who might be able to help. And in exchange, you guys help me out if you guys will do this other task and find this Daimyo Isano who stole my inventory. I will make it right with you, and I will serve as merchant for your group. So that having been the case, we come full circle back to Sunday morning, and I'm going to send us to another intermission here for like 5 minutes or so, give my voice a few moments to rest. I'm sure y'all can hear the wheezing and the choking. So we'll give it just a few moments. I'm going to sip on some water here, and we will catch up with you for another cycle of the Coalescence Chapter 4. While we are away for the next few moments, do me a favor here in chat and post down some of the more memorable moments that you've experienced or witnessed as part of these 45 sessions so far. Are you with us? Yo! Welcome back, friends. We are good to proceed with the next bit of recapping here, where we pick up with Sunday morning. And last we left them was, they were being chased into the city by the hordes of undead. We had some opportunity to kind of stealth our way through this map. We didn't have a lot of encounters. This is definitely not the street encounter that we will all remember with horror. But nevertheless, we did run into that sign of civilization. We passed it back on the way back into the city. Encountered a new party member named Ridabru Ikru. And unlike Kubrick, he has in fact managed to survive this entire time with our party. He did also, it wasn't his, but he did have a horse at that location where you guys found the signs of civility, and unfortunately in the midst of this combat, that horse just made a break for it. And last we saw of it, it was completely surrounded by zombies. No reason to think that anything good happened to it after that. As for our characters and the NPCs, at this point in time, all of them were kind of playing off of the same token here, so I only added these ones in today just to kind of reflect what the combat might have actually looked like had I taken the few moments to find our NPCs here and not just say it's Grove to plus family kind of thing. Making it through here, however, though, we make it to the farmer's house, where it was a brief side quest here where we had opportunity to explore, possibly locate some items of interest. We did find a couple dusts of healing and some other mundane equipment, I do believe, in that respect. We, of course, had an unexpected encounter with a few of the Class D oranges. Some of them came from the back door, some of them came through the front door. Some of them were already here inside of the barn munching on this horse at the time of your guys' arrival. But otherwise, another successful quest here for Sunday morning. That's something I don't think that we maybe didn't pay enough attention to at the time because of what was to come, but we did have a good number of near escapes and successful protection missions here, even getting into the guard shack, although this is where things began to turn bad, as Sunday morning had their first encounter with a Class C orange in addition to a number of other Class Ds. We did find some mundane gear here, as you can see labeled on the map. The Dust of Healing located here. Krill had been looking for his black and white daggers, a part of his character's backstory, and upon arriving here at the site, he was able to locate the items of interest. Unfortunately, in the middle of all this combat, we had zombies everywhere. Some of them even broke in through the bars right here, where all of our NPCs were kind of thinking they were safe in this room. And unfortunately, as the combat spilled further into this area, the daughter Borsi was bitten, killed, infected, and turned into another opponent for us to defeat. So that began the horrors for Sunday morning, and it were not a pleasant thing. And this is where Thursday spent, I want to say, two and a half sessions on this random encounter, which probably should best be nicknamed 91%. And Sunday morning will, of course, understand the pertinence of that. We began over in this area roughly, as I recall, with instructions that we needed to escape through here. Unfortunately, the saturation of zombies on this map was high. They were everywhere. Everywhere we tried to run, everywhere we turned. We had a brief stall in this room. Some of our characters, in fact, kind of took this ledge out right here, this moss-covered slippery ledge, and made it back out here to the street. Redabru took use of the river here and his aquatic nature and managed to avoid attacks for one round at least by submerging himself. And we found the first little clue of what was to come here in the mask store. One of the cultists of Nihilus unfortunately lost part of his gear during a particularly harrowing escape from a number of undead in this area. And wouldn't you know it, it was our Sunday morning table that came along and found a Mask of Nihilus, which just began to spark all kinds of theory and conspiracy alike. And it would be a number of sessions before we finally found out just what that mask would mean, i.e. the cultists of Nihilus. But for the time being, there was all kinds of curiosity with Winston's mask. Yes, this is the map where we met Winston, but it would be a short while after. This is where everything bad happened. We just had him coming in from both sides across the bridge. We had some characters make their way out as far as here, but the zombies were coming down this alley. They were coming down this alley. Some of them were coming from this side of the street. So we took our stand here, and unfortunately, even an entangle effect here, even a turn undead. As valiant a defense as we were able to make, Yesna was first killed, failed her saving throw, and got turned into an orange. And Avarice, however, was merely killed. He did make his save against the infection and was later on just kind of trampled and beaten in the chaos of what was going on, and he died from that. Fleeing a bit further down the street, the man who tied all of us together, Grove to Riley himself, the final NPC, we can only hope, to perish. And it was there in the midst of that Dylan made the joke that we inadvertently created Batman here. And that is where Marl's token entered the ghost layer and became Batmarl. And it'll probably be some time this weekend before I reveal what the secret is. But I feel like I'm going to reveal 95% of it by saying nothing at all and just doing this. Make of that what you will. And I did try to remind you guys one more time, because as I said, the secret is something that any table could potentially do. But it requires the right timing, the right circumstance, and it requires doing it and not theorizing what it is. Yeah, some of your discussions were very, very much in the vein of what the secret is. It's just sad that none of you found or took the opportunity to actually initiate that in-game. Oh, Westy missed it completely. Put the bear down, buddy! Meanwhile, everybody's like, oh, wow, I get it! Oh, my goodness! And Westy's like, I don't get it. That didn't make no sense. No, not putting this beer down. Oh, for sure. Every table pretty much mostly only had combat throughout the process, but that was also a large percentage of the chance that was going to get the secret event to even be a possibility. If everything was kind of cool and calm, the secret was never going to come into play because we would never have reason to even suspect to try it. But we did eventually make our way off this map, one extra NPC, Winston, in tow. I feel that Terry was very close to it. I can't say for certain that you were 100% correct, but I remember reading over yours and being like, yes, yes, yes. It's been a few days, though, since I've read it, and a lot of people tossed ideas at me, so I don't want to mix your answer with somebody else's inadvertently. We also had one of the more interesting epic events occur in this area right around the time that our NPCs started dying. And that was when Alexander decided to redeem his Beskar Bucks and bring in the Deck of Many Things. And wouldn't you know it, as soon as he brought it in and declared how many cards he was going to draw, he even had a pretty ingenious way around it too, because he did our Facebook positive review thing, got himself a red card, which ended up being the Vizier. So before he drew, he used his Vizier ability to kind of try to circumnavigate some of the randomness of the deck and try to find out how many cards it would take to get a wish card. And he left himself a little bit too much ambiguity, though, when he specified that, oh god, what was it? Like, he was only going to draw 4 cards. So how many cards would it take to get the wish card? My answer in drawing and shuffling and drawing and shuffling was that there's no combination within the first 4 where you get a wish card. He chanced it anyway, decided to go for hopefully the Sun card or something in that respect, and he ended up getting the Void card, and his character's body fell lifeless. The soul transferred to an item, a very nearby item, I might add, but it's something that I didn't want to take his character away for the entire campaign. When you did your Facebook, you got the wish card. Yeah, you got a wish card, right? Yeah, a few people definitely got wishes. Some people got as many as 3. I think Richter was the one who got 1 wish, and he unfortunately had to use it for a teleport spell. But this is where Sunday morning would spend a great deal of their time. I did in fact have another side quest map entirely built that was a pretty substantial map. And of course, I've just got it saved for potential use in Act 5 at some time. But we spent so much time on this random encounter. It's just supposed to be a brief detour, but it ended up being such a bloody affair that I just kind of tossed that map off to the side because I kind of had, I mean, it's part of DMing. You have to cut some corners. Sometimes you have to stretch things out a little bit, especially when you're connecting all these tables and you want to sync them all up. 3 wishes. All right. And that is where Sunday morning called it after that, taking us back to the junkyard here. And in fact, as I was saying about Monday table, when we kind of left them out in the wild over here, it's definitely challenging, but it's one of the more fulfilling things as a GM that I've ever had, especially just starting on a random Sunday in August and not knowing when I was going to end, but knowing that we're going to have the holidays around December, so we probably won't play as much during that month, if at all. And then only around October realizing, okay, we've got this many sessions left. This is the story that I still want to tell. This is where I want us to get. All of our tables need to get to this point by this time, and then having yesterday wrap up the way it did and seeing that all 6 of our tables got to where they needed to get to, it's very fulfilling. But this goes back to our Wednesday little vision that they had there, where they saw the ghostly apparition of the helicopter and the Monday party getting on that chopper. Our Monday table, in fact, as they were making their way over the landscape here, the zombies that were pursuing them from that little lakeside cabin continued chasing them. And we were going to have some issues with chase, movement speed, exhaustion, if this chase kept up with any degree of consistency. Fortunately, a helicopter appeared on the horizon and chased down these zombies, blasting all of them to smithereens, did a few more circles over the horizon before setting down nearby, And from that helicopter, our Monday crew met the NPCs Thompson, Pete, Rusty, and Gene. And all four of them ran into the same issue that a lot of our interconnected parties have run into, the language barrier. So it was some degree of pantomiming, I believe, to get our parties united, because I think the only one who had the ability to comprehend languages was Bly, which made his death outside of that trailer even more tragic, because now the rest of the party is here, and the one person who could communicate. Womp womp. I may look into something like that. It depends, because those characters are going to come back for some unique and interesting events, but there is some wisdom to what you're saying also. But our Monday characters did get on the helicopter, and that is where we found ourselves here at the junkyard. The helicopter put down, completely out of fuel by this point. This was the end run for our Monday night group of NPCs. They were expecting to return home to a safe and secure society. Unfortunately, we can see that their junkyard was overrun. The front gate was broken down, zombies got around everywhere, and every NPC who lived here was killed, with one exception. That being Lean Lure, who was revealed as a Yuuzhan Vong, an alien race from the Star Wars Expanded Universe, or the Legends canon as they call it now. Yes, indeed. A bit of uncomfortable roleplay between the NPCs, as Lean Lure was in fact initially in disguise as Thompson's sister. And this is how she kind of incorporated herself into the community and managed to survive for a good number of weeks as well, until our party, having arrived, kind of caught her in dialogue like, wait, you can understand us and you can understand them? Like, she speaks both languages? How is this even possible? And that's when she revealed her true identity. If you don't know about the Yuuzhan Vong, they are entirely biotech. That is their entire thing, all the way down to their clothing, to even their spaceships. Their spaceships are giant asteroids that have like literal living world brains and all these living propulsion gravitic systems inside of them that make these things traverse through space. On a personal scale level, she has this device called an Uglith Maskor, or a creature would be the more precise way of defining it. And by itself, it just kind of looks like an old sheet tossed on the ground. But when somebody is proficient in the biotech, they're able to coax these creatures to perform their given function. In this case, the sheet, once she kind of communicates with it and touches it a certain way, it crawls up her legs, eventually encompassing her entire body, and it basically creates a disguise for her. She can appear to be any other humanoid that she has seen before. This also comes with the ability to understand languages of people speaking, because it's the creature that understands the languages and are translating that effect to her. So this is our first tie-in, or one of our first tie-ins, to the Coalescence chapters 1 through 3. We did briefly touch on what the Yuuzhan Vong were. For those of you who do not remember, the Supreme Chancellor of the Core Worlds Confederacy is a Yuuzhan Vong. He took place in the final endgame battle, and for those of you paying attention in the Endgame Aftermath channel, he is one of the few people who also failed his saving throw against the Agent Orange explosion, so he is now an Orange. So the Supreme Chancellor of the Confederacy is an undead. That's good news. We will, of course, touch on that in our text play as you guys decide to jump into that. But Monday had a fair amount of cleaning here to do. I don't think we spent more than a session on this map. It was pretty straightforward. kicking ass. Like maybe we got here halfway through the session and then we left halfway through the next session. But this is where we got to know our NPCs very well. Thompson, who favors using a machine gun, even though he's not very good at it. Rusty, who is not very combat capable at all, but the dice just seem to love him, and he kicks ass. Pete, who favors the bow and is socially awkward, to say the least. And then you've got Gene, the former news reporter, who carries this camera around with him, and he is filming all parts of the zombie apocalypse. That seems to be his entire purpose. He does not participate in combat, but he gets very, very close to the action, recording all of it. It is from here that once we realize the junkyard has been overrun, we are all here on the same map here, Monday and Tuesday. Old Junkyard, this is where our Monday crew is at. The residential area here, the cul-de-sac, this is where our Tuesday crew is at, where the plane crash came down. For those of us here in the junkyard, we basically just see a big cloud of smoke over in that area, so there is nothing enticing us to visit that area whatsoever. And really the urgent task right now becomes securing a new base of operations, because the junkyard has been overrun, the gates are torn down, we're not going to be able to repair those before the night's over and more zombies show up, so let's try to explore this area a bit more. Looking at the map, the mansions might have made good homes, but we can tell at a distance that that whole area has just been destroyed. Likewise, the industrial zone, it looks like at one point in time another group of survivors, possibly even multiple groups of survivors, called this place home, and whatever happened to their society afterwards, we're looking at the remains of it. Walls destroyed, buildings completely burned out. So we find ourselves here at the mall. That is where the Monday table will eventually head to, and so will the Tuesday table eventually. But we got more work to do here in the cul-de-sac. What is these? Got my Ring camera going off here, so I'm just naturally trying to find out what's going on. Oh yeah, Amazon. Okay. All's well. So yes, our Tuesday crew would continue clearing out these buildings, the most prominent of the remaining ones being this magical wonderland over here. It is not until we ascend these staircases that we have the pleasure of running into His Majesty Blizzard. This wonderful pink octopi jellyfish looking creature right here. Yes, and we're going to touch on this moment in great detail here. We're going to have to grill Brad pretty hard on his motivations, so if you wouldn't mind mandating that he jumps in to the stream here, we're going to need him. So yes, our crew made their way up the stairs, and they run into our little jellyfish creature here, who informs them that they are entitled to enter these rooms where he has numerous prizes awaiting them. All they have to do is indulge him in answering a few riddles. And the riddles themselves, as far as degrees of difficulty, definitely varied. Some of them were easier than others. All of them pretty straightforward. None of them like intensely mind-boggling that you have to spend like an hour trying to get into it, but in the interest of not bogging the game down, we all did spend maybe like 2-3 minutes or so. What is the average velocity of a sparrow? And yes, the characters, as they begin to unlock these rooms, you can see my notes here written on the side here. We got some anti-oranges for those of you who successfully answered the riddle here. Brad and Terry were the only ones who were able to make their way into this room, where I've actually deleted the effect, but there was a pool of oil here on the floor. The effect of that was basically just intended to be dip your weapon in this oil and it will magically it'll magically harden the sword and make it like a +1 or whatever your weapon of choice happens to be. And Brad found the pool of oil pretty curious, but in listening to the replay streams, we definitely had a few missed beats of communication there pertaining to who did what, when they did something, if they really did something, because yes, we did successfully get the party into all the rest of the rooms. We found a number of scrolls in this area. As people claim them, you can see that they kind of checked everything off. We found some other potions in here. This was scroll room. This was potion room. This was kind of miscellany. We found some sodas and some waters. Soda just kind of house ruled that it's a short rest action if you chug a lug. The sparkles gave everybody a long rest, which Tuesday actually had double the long rests of all of our other tables. All the other tables had to literally find a place to kind of hunker down and get that 8 hours, whereas Tuesday just kind of walked into a room, got an immediate long rest, and then I think like a session and a half later got another long rest. So you guys had a slight edge over the other tables in that respect. But yes, indeed, upon opening the door and exiting this room, the powers within were no longer applicable. The whole point of the riddle was that you had to answer it to get inside and get the bonuses. Obviously, going inside and then opening it and saying, hey, everybody who did not answer the riddle, come on in and get yourself some of this magical oil. That was never on the table. And I think that was largely where we ran into problems, because Brad, absolutely brilliant answering the riddle and getting in, and then as soon as getting in, not really understanding or figuring out what the oil was for, trying to figure it out in character, not really having a lot of luck, and just figuring, I'll open the door and some of our smarter characters can come in here and figure this out. Oh, damn, the oil got dissipated by the temperature exchange between the bathroom and the hallway, and now it's all evaporated, whatever the heck happened out. Exactly, it lost all of its efficacy coming out. That was the whole point of it. It's like the Holy Grail. Like, you can't like take the magical water in the Grail like out of the sanctum. Like, that's breaking the rules. So this is where Tuesday Crew finally began wrapping up their map. We did have some other encounters. One that revealed a couple of other NPCs, Maggie and Kate, who were taking cover in this room until Silkus decided to shatter their barricade here. You can see that they knocked over some shelves, and they also had the door barricaded. And then all of a sudden, the shatter effect blasted the door open and almost killed both of them in the process. But Kate and Maggie do belong to the Scott, Joey, Kurt, and Tim group, all the way back on level 1, but it would be this house right here where they're all taking cover. Last but not least, here on Tuesday, we did some more exploration. We did pretty much find everything on this map. We did find a Phoenix Down feather, but I have nothing to ping on this map otherwise to give you any kind of hint. I guess I suppose I do, but it's not on this map. And I think you guys understand it already as it is, or at least some of it. Sandwich Sammy, yes indeed. Sandwich Sammy was trapped inside, oh goodness, level 2. Yeah, he was inside the world's tiniest restroom. Right over here. And just, he had drawn the attention of a number of zombies. He was stuck trying to get out of the window here, unfortunately. And Zara came over and saved him. And that is how Sandwich Sammy became... Where the heck? Oh, this is back on level 2. No wonder I can't find what I'm doing. Level 1, that is how Sandwich Sammy joined. This is the Junkyard map, so I'm once again just all over the wrong place. Yes, indeed. I'm not going to repeat the same thing, but that's how he's there. That's why the dude with the sandwich. Yeah. And what a mighty sandwich it is. Corinne likewise survived the plane crash. Tim and Kurt, not the most combatant-capable characters. Tim is okay, but we can see he has sustained an injury that is not going to easily be recovered, even with a quick cure wounds and a max health restoration. A lesser restoration or some kind of effect like that may be called for him. But we've got plenty of downtime too, so he might just heal that naturally. And yep, we had another Phoenix Down feather right here, I do believe, before Tuesday Crew finally located this set of stairs right here, leading down to the basement level. And these were the stairs leading down to the other basement level. I think the only ones, or no, it was these ones right here. I think the only ones we didn't explore in that house at the time. And then likewise, there is this hatch over here that leads to the other section of the subterranean level here on Tuesdays. But that is where they would pick up in the next session. Continuing with Thursday. Kurt does need a guitar. Brief little pause here. Little gardening break. Thank you for your patience. And here we are, proceeding up to the first level of the pagoda. We got the ground level, and then we got the first level. And this is where we're already starting to lose some of our NPCs. This might be where we lost Doc already, because I think he did not make it very long into the campaign, unfortunately. And Marcus, unfortunately, the East Coast time difference, we just keep losing him in the last hour of the session, unfortunately. But this level was very straightforward. Not a whole lot here to discover. Some books, some scrolls, non-magical, set up here at this desk area. Some dining areas. Looks like some people may have kind of been caught in the middle of a meal, in the middle of some correspondence. And then we've got some more of those interesting 1970s goth-ish type zombies, although these were even from a different pack. These are not the same as the goth zombies. And this is kind of a sneak peek, actually, at I believe some of the tokens that I'm earmarked for our Class B zombies to be encountered in Coalescence Chapter 5, coming 2025. But for these purposes here in this combat, they were all just Class Ds, and they kicked ass. Can you give Brad disadvantage? Yeah, you can spend the inspiration on that, or the Beskars on that. Likewise, level 2, pretty straightforward here. I think I probably got rid of all the zombie bodies, or they are underneath our characters. Yeah, looks like they have already been eliminated from the level. Of course, the levels are getting smaller the higher up we get. We've found a couple of these urns here, these arcs containing the ashes of dearly beloved deceased family members. We have found numerous full plate samurai armor. Likewise, an antique vase. I don't think our characters really messed with any of these. We were just kind of driven to continue up, and up to level 3 here. And yeah, this was a non-combat level right here. This is in fact where we met Lilith, the first of the Class B sentient zombies. For those of you who have not already heard the story, Lilith is played by Kai, who is a player from our Thursday night table. She played in last season and this season. And as her character was kind of left in an ambiguous state at the end of Coalescence Chapter 3, I took some liberties here in introducing the potential fates of some of our characters who were left behind in that end game. by converting her into a orange and having her present here to kind of connect some of those dots for you. Just like most of your characters, though, she's out of place, she's out of time, she doesn't know why she's here. So a lot of your questions trying to resolve the larger mysteries of the campaign, not really having much luck working with her. First what? What did I miss there? But this level right here, after we had some RP with Lilith and realized that, okay, we're not going to fight her, she's not going to fight us, and really all she seems to want to do is kind of hang out in an observational capacity, we will do so. We did have to, you can see all our tokens are kind of stacked up over here, but yeah, the first sentient zombie that we have encountered, indeed. They encountered her a number of months ago, actually, probably back in September. But yes, we did have to, I think grab some ladders and kind of set things up, because the only way up to the top level of the pagoda is this ladder right here. And it's on top of a platform that's 20 feet off of the ground here. If you guys remember what the last level looked like, this is the armor and the antique vase from that level. So easy to climb the stairs here and get to this landing right here, step outside, kind of look around, but like, how do you get to the top level unless you can either fly from here or make your way to here and climb the ladder, which is what we did. Ascending to the top level of the pagoda, where there's really nothing of interest up here whatsoever aside from the daimyo of this particular pagoda. And I think I doubled up on a name. I had an extra name somewhere in my notes and I lost track of it. And I think while we were fighting this zombie, I was calling this zombie Kato. And I believe the daimyo who was in possession of Tank's castle, as we will see coming up to the end of Coalescence 4, was also named Daimyo Kato. So slight flub on my behalf there. This zombie being an undead, though, it really doesn't matter what its name is at this point. All we know is that it was a powerful character that became a zombie, was still taking residence in its pagoda. And good news! Our party has successfully cleared the pagoda. We've killed all the zombies. We now have a safe place for all of our NPCs to come. Oh, and then there's an earthquake and the entire pagoda gets rocked and destroyed and leveled to the ground. And our characters, in fact, in the tail end of this combat against Daimyo Zombie here, ran into this guy. Looks a little like Noboru, except it's not Noboru. His name is Ryu. Ryu Isano. He was here. He never actually really gave his reasons for being here, but while the PCs were fighting this zombie, he actually ascended the exterior of the building, joined into the fray, helped kill the zombie, and then as the landscape began to rock with the earthquake, he led us out of here, promising that you'll find safety and sanctuary if you come with me. And that is what led our Thursday crew into the inner graces of Daimyo Isano, and we'll see just how the other side of that coin plays out in a couple tables from now. As for here, this is where Sunday evening ran into some of the same trouble that Sunday morning ran into. We were just minding our business, driving along, making our way, hopefully, to Laughlin, Nevada at some point, when suddenly some assholes decided to lay a trap in the middle of the road that destroyed our tires. And then they started shooting at us, and there were a lot of these guys that just started shooting. And then, of course, in the process of this, who do you draw with all this noise but a lot of friggin' zombies? And that is what we see here, is the aftermath of their combat. Some of our characters got no secret about it. They overextended themselves, and to that respect, I will say Ballard in particular, like he was doing very good against these guys with the machine guns. He was able to close with them in melee and then just kick their ass, like almost going straight up this street here, curving around to the west, just kicking ass, kicking ass. We had some characters kind of get caught in this alley where a number of these thugs with the guns were taking position behind these parked vehicles and opening fire on anybody to come through this alleyway. But once the combat had kind of gone on for 5 or 6 rounds, all of a sudden manholes start opening up, windows start breaking from all these buildings. From the gloom off the side of the map over here come all these friggin' zombies. And our group at this level, they're only level 1, level 2. They're just not prepared for this kind of onslaught. And you can see here the perfect Ballard-sized hole where they were already starting to surround him, and I mean, more of them coming around the corner. There's some debate on both sides of the table as to whether he would have survived this attack had Mike's character, Xavier, not also been in dire straits, but he was standing up on the roof of the metro station here. He had actually gotten over here after using his Mold Earth ability to kind of pole vault over the zombies and make it to a position of safety. The biggest problem is that Jung and Tongue-in-Cheek, we actually had 2 battle vans that we brought with us, and both of them had their tires shredded. Jung, Tongue-in-Cheek, they spent the entire combat repairing the tires on one battle van, and then no sooner was it repaired, they honked the horn and they were like, let's get out of here, we're not waiting on you guys, we're not here to fucking demonstrate our badassery and that we can kill 50 zombies around us. Like, while you're killing them, 100 more are going to show up. So they peeled ass and got out of there and started heading on down the street to make good their escape. That is where Ballard had to use his wish spell gained from the Deck of Many Things to essentially wish him and Xavier onto the battle van with the rest of the characters here. No such thing as 100. Don't challenge me! So that is where Sunday ended off their adventure. Wednesday, this is where the Coalescence starts to tie in a little bit more. As Thursday, well, they are working directly with Daimyo Isano, who is the person who lives in this fortress. It's a beautiful looking fortress too, if you don't count the fucking Tarrasque hanging out in the courtyard. This map unfortunately caused us many hiccups and delays because it is a dynamically lit map, and just look at the frickin' size of it. I think I'm a little shy there. I was about to start counting, but I don't think that's 100 zombies quite. It might be. It might be like 80. 80 or so. And, yeah, our Thursday table, they had gotten themselves on good terms with the Daimyo. Daimyo volunteered in exchange for their service in helping defend his home, that he would give them room, board, he would pay them. We've already got a number of defenders here on the site. Unfortunately, we've had to recruit these guys on the fly because the people who used to help defend this place, we don't know where they are anymore, but we've got these Dwergar, we got these goblins who are looking for a place to stay, and they seem pretty capable, and they're willing to work for the agreed upon price. We've got some other guys here. These are like some of the few who actually stayed here from the Coalescence transversion or transfiguration here. But that is where we find our 2 different parties here on Wednesday and Thursday on opposite sides of the same battle. Our Thursday table is working for the Daimyo who stole Moorlander's inventory. So our Wednesday table, having investigated the source of the bells, they've been tasked
by Moorlander to recover his inventory, and then that will be very good things for all of them. Unfortunately, our Thursday party has no idea of this deal having been made, and in fact, Daimyo Asano doesn't seem like that bad of a guy. I mean, he's got a really good setup here. We don't really know a whole lot about him personally. We just know he seems capable, and he's got all his shit in order here. So why not? Let's work for him. And when the bells start ringing here in the courtyard, indicating that we've got a zombie incursion on the southern side, well, that is where most of our player characters found themselves engaged in battle here on this bridge against an ever-increasing number of the undead. Mixture of Class Ds, Class Cs alike. We tried to halt their progress with an entangle spell. That only worked so much. We can see that half a dozen of them already got past that side of it. And it was then that our keep defenders decided, okay, let's go into the guardhouses here and come back out with some bundles of dynamite, which we're going to use to implode the bridge right here at the base. That's what they ended up doing. Hopefully preventing any zombies from actually making it into the courtyard. However, at the time while they're doing this, Noburo from our Wednesday night party has joined that Wednesday night group, and they've already begun an incursion here on the back wall. They found a guard barracks here, a sentry tower, and they opted to just try to scale the wall, try to make their way up there. One of our characters, in fact, used a vizier from the Deck of Many Things to answer the question of how to get up there. So we found a ladder hidden in the bushes, and that's how the rest of the party who didn't have flight or climbing speed or super athletics, what have you, were able to make their way up here and eventually make an incursion into the daimyo's castle from the meditation yard here. Whereas Noburo, he continued all the way here around the exterior of the castle. Briefly went up here thinking that he had found a shortcut, killed the zombie, and realized, oh, this is the wall, I can't get up there. So he went all the way back down. All the way down through here, finally found an entrance under here. This is not a wall that's blocking this. This is an overpass that he was actually able to just walk right underneath. Into the courtyard here, that's where we have a dead knight. That's where we have some of these other knights that are injured. You can kind of see based on some of their health bars. This named Dwergar has taken some damage. This one as well. And I think we had some others that were dead up over... Or no, we had some in pursuit. Yeah, these were the ones that were battling Noburo. They followed him all the way up to here. As he just tore ass through the courtyard, made his way up the steps all the way through here, and into the front entrance of the daimyo's castle here. So now we've kind of got some interesting coalescing happening between our Wednesday and our Thursday parties alike, as our Thursday party is now realizing, okay, well, there's not a lot we can do about these zombies, and now we've got our first appearance of the campaign of Mistress Aiji and the ghostly apparition of the Demon Dragon. Both major players in the Coalescence Chapter 3, unseen really since the conclusion of that campaign. Now they are back, neither of them in the same form that they were when last we saw them. And her entire purpose here seemed to be the creation of this time gate, which, if you recall, that's the Time Dragon's breath weapon. It can create a gate linking up to 8,000 years in the past or the future. And where this gate goes, who knows, but setting it up right there, she was effectively able to kind of funnel all of these zombies into that gate. And this all pretty much happened off screen. Once she created the gate and kind of coerced our characters still fighting on the bridge to go back inside, they didn't really have any contact with her. This was merely her first appearance, not really a whole lot of interaction with her. And that's how we find our Thursday characters starting to get scattered over the map here. We've got some of them still running up the stairs to get into the building. We've got Revolver Rick about halfway up there. We've got some Thursday characters, Genzo and Opie right here. And then inside the fortress interior, this is where things got very interesting. As, oh yeah, we had Party Split here as well. So we had some characters entering through the meditation garden. Did some battle in this area. We had a number of guards. We also had the daimyo himself in this room. And as soon as the characters intruded, he just went all about kicking ass. Matheson, in fact, was dropped here and was drug away to be healed. That is these are the blood stains that we see on the floor, the drag marks. And the daimyo definitely made use of the terrain. After fighting for a bit, he then ran out the western door here and took this southern path all the way around. Got a few of the characters to follow him to this point when he then opened the door here, ran right back through here and up these stairs. That's why all of these ghosted characters are kind of clustered right here. They eventually all caught up and went up the stairs to follow the daimyo. Up to Fortress Level 2. This is now Wednesday and Thursday that we're kind of bouncing back and forth between their sessions, as they are caught in a very bloody battle here against the daimyo's NPC defenders. We've got the guards. We've got these little goblin girl mages who were causing all kinds of chaos, even with magic missile spells at this level. Because of the level mages that they were throwing like level... I think they were throwing 5 magic missile spells. So these were landing with a great degree of accuracy and power. And then you mix in our Thursday character. This is where the first instance of our time stutter effect comes into play, as suddenly we've got Thursday and Wednesday characters all kind of appearing here in the midst of the castle in places that they were not expecting. We already had some people who were in here, and now there's a lot of people who weren't, a lot of people who might be allies in other circumstances that we don't know. And in the midst of it all, we've got Noburo versus Ryu. The two of them are twin brothers who have never seen eye to eye, who are in one of those family tragedy, brother against brother for all life, and now this is just 40 years of bad blood and animosity spilt over, and one of these guys is going to die. And it was, in fact, Noburo who lost the battle. Ozzy, who was working for the Thursday night table in the employ of the daimyo, his insight was basically telling him that the daimyo Asano was not a good guy. This guy Noburo had more honor, had probably morals that we would see better eye to eye with. And thus he snuck up into this and gave a Phoenix Down feather to Noburo. He also, I think it was Ozzy, it might have been another character, it might have been a tag team between two of them, but they also gave him a long rest. Once that happened, Noburo versus Ryu was pretty much a formality. Ryu had the advantage coming in. He was at full health. Noburo entered this battle having already helped Wednesday crew clear out that location where Moorlander was ringing the bells. So he was coming into this at like 50% his hit point value. But yes, Noburo was able to turn the tables on Ryu, and once Ryu was dropped to less than 50 hit points, he actually revealed a transformation that nobody, including his twin brother, was aware of. Something happened to him in the course of the Coalescence, and we've seen a few occasions of this, maybe only one or two, in fact, where people are coalescing. The biggest example of this would be the Sunday night table, I do believe it is, where we have a character with the mind of a 1970s hippie, but he is in the body of a Furbolg, I believe, druid. So he's got some interesting conflicts happening with his own character in that respect. This seems to kind of be something in that vein, in that it's still the same person, but there's some kind of transformation that has taken place with him. And with the daimyo being destroyed, we think, okay, we've got two parties of adventurers here. We will briefly take these opportunities to explore the rest of the keep. And in fact, we'd never explored these levels. The doors have not been open. There's not a single token up here. Look at all this cool stuff we left behind. A couple of magical weapons right over here. Stockpile of magical arrows. Look at this beautiful hot tub, private hot tub up on the top level. The very top level, however, yeah, somebody had to have come up here then, because this is Moorlander's inventory. I think at this point it was pretty much just a formality of clearing the place out and making our way up here and getting, I mean, make of that what you will. It looks like some kind of urchin, some kind of sea urchin that's got some kind of magical quality to it, maybe. This was the inventory. Nobody asked any questions. They just took it, gave it to the dude, and have accepted the fact that he is now able to provide all of these magical items in exchange for gold coins and Beskar. That is not the secret of the campaign that I've been trying to push you guys towards, but it is an interesting curiosity that I find interesting that nobody has really tried to pull at. And then, of course, now that we've got this entire place set and prepared for our occupation, yeah, it's a Tarrasque. It is the Tarrasque. It is the epic variant of the Tarrasque that makes the 5e Tarrasque look like the Tarrasque that it is. It's honestly not a challenge that most groups have any issue with, especially if they are of appropriate level and adequately equipped. It's kind of just like a check or a badge that you put on your uniform after you're done with it. This Tarrasque, however, is something a bit more interesting. Why does it have 2 health bars? I'm not saying. Why does it look different? I'm not saying. But it's pretty cool, and as soon as it arrived and it began to level the entire castle complex, our parties found themselves needing to run once again. And that takes us all the way back here, because right around that same time, our Sunday morning party had finished their clearing of the location that they were at, and they were finally headed up to the castle district, where some of our party members had some unresolved tasks to attend to. And wouldn't you know it, that was the same pagoda that our Thursday party started at, that no sooner does our Sunday party start to arrive in the vicinity, that a massive earthquake breaks out, forcing them to scatter. So we've got all 3 parties now, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday 1, all at different times of the day, scattering, trying to get out of this city, either because there's a Tarrasque or there's an earthquake. Possibly the Tarrasque caused the earthquake. But for whatever reason, and in our own due time, all 3 of these parties made their way outside the city, across the bridge, into this little copse of woods, which is where our pre-downtime activities began. I opened up the channel for all of your characters to be able to start connecting between Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday morning. Moorlander's officially opened for business. Your storage lockers officially opened up, even though we don't have the home bases unlocked just yet at this point. We've played enough sessions that we're kind of getting the feel for the campaign, the theme, where we're going with it. And at this point, all of our groups are looking back inside of the settlement here now that all of the dust has died down. The Tarrasque is nowhere to be seen, And there is also no sign of any impending earthquake aftershocks. And none of these locations line up with what I'm saying. So when I say this is a castle and you scratch your head and you're like, that ain't no castle, I know it's not a castle. We're just saying that this location on the map represents the castle that will eventually become the home base for Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday 1. Of course, that is all stuff that we will talk about on the other side of another 5-minute break here or so, friends. And then on that third hour, we should wrap up all of our Coalescence recaps here. Thanks for hanging out and participating. We will catch you in just a few minutes, friends. Are you with us?
to the sun. If I let you, now it's starting to make sense. You were meant to. You were fine to let me go like that. You went out of my life, and I went back to silence. We started, but then you were gone, gone, gone. I thought it, but I had no chance to cling on. You were fine to let me go like that. You went out of my life, and I went back to silence. You were fine to let me go like that. You went out of my life, and I went back to silence.
Like a lot of classic stories, you're going to have 3 acts. Quality recap of that story should have 3 acts as well, I guess I feel. Welcome back, friends. We get to Sunday morning table here. They were the first to broach, or no, it was Wednesday actually, who were the first to broach the castle here that would become the site for the next 8 sessions, 9 sessions even. All 3 of the tables had 3 sessions apiece at this site. And a sneak peek at a couple of NPCs here who I debated introducing into the middle of this scene, but I opted not to just because I felt like we had enough characters already. But I do have character sheets and backstories for Cathar and Simone, an interesting pair of a drow elf and a human set from the 1970s theme of the zombie apocalypse. So the 2 of them will be making an appearance at one of our tables at some point throughout the Coalescence Chapter 5, probably. And, well, the map we're looking at here does not do justice to the carnage that was inflicted, but if you really want to see that, just check out last night's ending stream, the finale stream for Feudal Waterdeep, as we cleared all of the bodies out of this giant fortified castle that happens to be tied in to the Deck of Many Things throne card that our good friend Tank drew a number of weeks ago. This is definitely the location where our characters at the Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday morning tables all had the heaviest trials placed upon them and also their greatest successes. The number of zombies that they cleared out of this site, in addition to the cultists of Nihilus. Additionally, they had samurai, they had master assassins, we had a very powerful samurai daimyo himself. This was the daimyo Kato that I was speaking about earlier, who I think I kind of double named by giving that same name to the zombie
Kato back at the first pagoda, but this was the true Daimyo Kato, who one thing I thought was kind of cool was tying in a prophecy on their regards, like Tank obviously as the person who drew the card and has the throne coming to him. He knows that this is his place, especially since the card is telling him this is the place that you own. You just have to clear the monsters out. But for the daimyo and his people, they've had this prophecy that some soulless metal machine, an armor without a man, will come and spell doom for all of them. So as soon as his character was spotted by the daimyo, that just began 10 plus rounds of running from site to site on this map, usually in a state of being frightened. And additionally, we did have a few character deaths take place on this map, but unlike the other side of our Coalescence, we were able to restore life to all of them, and we do have all of our characters here kind of set. I thought it was a cool little setup here. Tank on his throne, Noburo right here on the steps, all of our characters just kind of in the middle of the RP that we were finishing off the session with last night. Some people in the tables in the rooms next door, but still within lines of sight or lines of audio as well. So I thought this was pretty cool to see all of our teams put together in the same place at once. We didn't really have the opportunity, nor did I make the space for it on our Monday, Tuesday, Sunday evening table. Nor did I even bring in all of the characters from Sunday evening onto that map, I don't think. So this was a cool little thing that I wish I had kind of done for the sun or the other side of the Coalescence, the Orange Enemir, as it were. But no reason we can't do it at some future point, or even begin the next chapter with that. But we covered a lot of this last night, so I'm not going to spend a great deal of time in recapping this. Suffice it to say that the victory was for the good guys, for the player characters on the 3 tables that we've been talking about. The Mistress and the Time Dragon were likewise here in full force, and they were pretty much the driving factor behind how we were able to do this combat sequentially from table to table to table without needing all the players here every session. It was essentially, well, you just need to be here for your session, but in keeping with a true Coalescence, and y'all were rock stars on this stuff. Ken, definitely top-notch to him, appearing in every other session that that connected this castle, because this is his castle. But he's not part of the Thursday and the Sunday morning tables, so he played 3 times as many sessions as he would have played otherwise. Likewise, Ari as Tawny Paw stepped into at least 2, if not 3 extra sessions. She plays with us on Sunday mornings, so that was pretty cool to have her step in. Likewise, Sarge from Sunday morning also played in 1 or 2, possibly even 3 of the weeknight sessions. And then likewise, we had some of our weeknight players, Paul from Thursday night jump into Wednesday night and Sunday morning, I believe. I think Steph, who's very new to our community and is a part of our Thursday table, she likewise sat in for a Sunday morning, and I think also a Wednesday as well. So we had a lot of coalescing going on there, which I found very, very fulfilling, and that's something I was very, very touched to see some of the comments that you all are talking about here during our live stream. That I think it was Paul who mentioned it, like, it's cool that we're all going to have this time to bond our characters, and then it's going to be sad when we all go our own separate ways on the adventure. Like, that's exactly what I've been looking for with all of this, like bonding all these characters together, and it's been very fulfilling seeing players who normally don't play at the same table with each other getting that opportunity to kind of immerse, to bond, to play their character personalities off of characters they normally don't get the chance to interact with. So many levels to this that just are things I'd never conceived of trying to do in a tabletop setting. They're just the beneficial spillover of what happens when you've got all these tables connected and you don't fight You don't fight the wave. Like, it's going, you let it carry you along, and you're like, well, it's the same map, it's the same battle. Like, obviously, most of our players on Wednesday are not going to be able to play on Thursday on the opposite week because they got stuff going on. A lot of our Thursday night players can't play on Sunday morning. But if we have just one or two from each of those tables guest star at each of these sessions, and we kind of freeze everybody else in this little chronomancy stasis that we've got going on, provided by the Time Dragon and the Time Mistress, everything flowed very, very cool, I thought. And I already saw some ways in the middle of doing it, as well as listening to the replays of, okay, if we do this again in Coalescence 5, Coalescence 6, I've already seen some shortcuts I can take that will mitigate some of the ultra-long delays, because I know that was an unintentional part of it. We're running 7-player tables, so there are already gonna be some delays when it comes to how long is between your turns, and then the more epic combats are gonna have some more tactical and powerful and probably numerous foes, which means my turns are gonna be longer. And then we're bringing guest stars in from other tables, so it just really increased the clock between turns. And don't think I didn't notice that. That's definitely something I try to keep an eye on, and it's one of the reasons why we have that unspoken 3-minute rule here. When your turn comes up, you have 3 minutes at least to declare what it is you're doing, because Lord knows it takes long enough to find the skill, find the feat, find the equipment, roll the dice, compare the dice against the difficulty challenge, make the additions, the subtractions to health bars, etc. That's all stuff we don't count as part of your turn. So we definitely want your turn. Okay, it's your turn. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Like, ideally, you already come into your turn knowing what you're doing, so that when we have these big combats like that, it helps everybody mitigate that delay as much as possible. But again, like I said, I found I've already come up with a couple of shortcuts as well, I think, for future combats of this sort to run a little smoother. One of them being having groups do initiative. So that, okay, you're on level 3, you're in Group A. Okay, Group A, we're going to do all the third floor combat right now, and then we're going to go down to level 2, do all the Group B combat, we're going to go down to level 1, do all the Group C combat, so it's not every initiative. Now we're back to level 3, now we're going underground, now we're going up to level 4. It was cool to see it thematically like that in real time, so to speak, but I think the compromise to our real-time play suffered a little bit, and it'll probably work better if we do the group format going forward with that. But yes, indeed, we will take a brief tour through the rest of the castle here. But first, we're going to go back to our Monday table, and they were the first ones to break ground here at the Mall of the Undead. We actually had a nice approach from the northwest here. We could see very clearly, yeah, broken windows out here. This front parking lot is kind of crawling with undead. Probably don't want to approach from that side unless we absolutely have to. We've got blueprints and schematics of the mall that we had found throughout the course of the campaign between our Monday and Tuesday tables. Unfortunately, by this point, our Monday and Tuesday tables had not met each other yet, so they're still approaching this very, very differently. Monday crew opting to try from the eastern parking lot. Since they had the blueprints, they knew these warehouses right here would serve them well. This was all Wudorm here, I believe, was kind of pushing the party along, like we should approach from this side. There are warehouses over here that will serve us well. Once we kind of clear out the area, we'll be able to have a place to take our long rest, which is exactly how it worked out. We cleared the initial wave of zombies, we took our long rest in here, and then we proceeded further down the parking lot where there were another cluster of them down here that we didn't originally see when we did the combat up here. And they spent most of their time, did Monday crew, outside of the mall. They cleared a lot of the mall, but they spent most of the time outside of it. Briefly, for a few moments, they did go inside Through the security office here, we did break through the vent, make our way inside. We were very tempted by the spiral staircase. We did not go that route, however. And we opted instead to head into here. And as soon as we made our way into the first plaza, I think Johnny's character got the first look at the beacon over here, which we would later come to tie in to our merchant for this side of the Coalescence, known as Vorn and Nor. But unfortunately, the number of undead that started to swarm us in this area, our whole thing was, well, we can control them better outside. We've got a tree ant outside who can't fit inside these tiny little corridors right here, so let's draw the combat back outside, where we can kind of hopefully control things a little better. There's something to be said about a bottleneck, but when you've got a 7-player party and it's a bottleneck, what good does that do you if the other 6 players behind you are like, I can't do shit? So definitely some solid tactics drawing them outside, and we can see based on the results just how many of these zombies were killed. We also had our debut of the Nihilist cultists during the middle of this encounter. And the cultists, I know I did promise to talk about them a little bit this session. These are they who would become breath drinkers. We found a good number of breath drinkers in the last campaign. They are Nihilist's most powerful and devoted minions. They have literally given their life to him and bonded their spirit eternally to his unending hunger, to his unending power. And as a result, that's why anytime he is present, Nihilus, there are a lot of these spirits around. Definitely inspired by the Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat, how he kind of powered himself on the souls that he stole from around him. But Nihilus is also his own character as well, so I'm kind of basing it a little off of that, but also playing a bit true to form. And the cultists I kind of always imagined as the acolytes who aspired to become breath drinkers, those who wanted to see themselves upon that sacrificial pedestal, willingly giving up their life so that they could ascend to that next level of existence, that next level of service, that next level of power. So when you guys, and I'm speaking of our endgame teams here, when they finished off Nihilus and his breath drinkers, there might still be some breath drinkers left out there, but you got to imagine if Nihilus knew he was going into a combat that was to the death one way or another, he probably brought all of his breath drinkers with him. So without Nihilus or the senior elders of the church, so to speak, them all gone, these cultists are now kind of running on their own, trying to find a way to see the mission accomplished. And of course, Nihilus's mission is devouring all life as we know it. Of course, these cultists, they don't have the capacity to eat all of you, so the next best thing they can do is really just try to end all life. And because they're already part of the process of becoming a breath drinker, like this is stage 1, stage 2, and then stage 3 become a breath drinker, or prophet, as the case may be. That is why when you kill them, there is nothing left of the body at all. They would have become a breath drinker had their death been performed in the sacrificial manner as intended. But since they're entering combat and they're just dying in the middle of all this, their souls just kind of get lost somewhere. There may be more to touch upon that later on, but for right now, that is what I want to at least kind of pull back the curtain a bit on the cult of Nihilus, where they come from, who they are, and why their mechanics work as they do. Because I know we had a bit of a moment when the cultist got turned into a zombie, and then upon the zombie being killed, it still dissipated and the soul went screaming away. I definitely had to kind of pause for a second on that, and I was like, okay, who gets the edge here? Is it the Agent Orange galactic virus, or is it the Sith ritual to become a breath drinker? And only by virtue of the fact that the Nihilus energy is included in the Agent Orange effect did I kind of give the lean towards, okay, the Sith ritual would take precedence because there's enough of Nihilus involved in all of this all around that this is what would happen as opposed to just a desiccated husk being left behind, which would have been the other fallback had I decided that way. We did have a couple of casualties out here as well over the few sessions that we spent with Monday night out here in the parking lot. Fortunately, they are all resurrected right here. All three of our characters who died, Jean, Holiday, and Rusty, were all given a Revivify this past Tuesday night. Lean Lar was also given a Revivify, and if you watch back on the stream, I definitely threw some deceit your way as I did one of these. And then I panned the camera down, and while you guys weren't looking, I did this. Johnny didn't even see it. Or if he did not say anything. Johnny is here in the live stream, so I will let him speak to that as he will. He may not have caught the details of what happened when we were talking about Lean Lar's fate, but I did mention that on Tuesday night when unfortunately Johnny was unable to be here with us, that he used the Revivify on her, but he's not sure whether he missed the 1 minute time by like one round or something, because remember I did ask what order are you resurrecting these characters, so I was keeping track of the timer. Or is it that something weird happened with the spell to where it didn't work with her Yuuzhan Vong physiology or something? You're not sure what happened, but that is definitely something going into downtime that Adolin may wish to examine, because it worked on all three of the other characters. They all died around the same time, but we did have numerous chronomancy stuttering effects going on that could have played into that, and some of them died before others of them, so that also of course impacts where the timer and the clock lay. Once this combat was all finished up, however, we did have basically the same thing that was going on with our Wednesday, Thursday, and our Sunday morning characters, with the Time Dragon and the Mistress here. Kind of, again, with that stutter effect of magic and chronomancy, kind of moving characters from place to place, or just accelerating time so that you've already moved to that place, but you don't remember, like driving home from work. You've made the trip so many times, you're just like, I don't remember going from point A to point B. I just know that I did. And another interesting thing that we've seen on both sides of the Coalescence, although not every character has seen it, is one of these cultists, almost without exception, they ignore the undead. They don't really seem to care about the undead. And truthfully, they're very tactical. They use the undead to their advantage because they're like, yes, we will destroy the undead, but we'll destroy them last. They're already halfway there. Most of them can't affect us. It's the living who are the real threats to our purpose. So we will use the undead as best we can in helping kill the living. Of course, when the Void Claw zombies appeared in the middle of the castle on the other side of the Coalescence, that proved to be a very poor tactic, because the zombies don't pay the cultists the same attention. The cultists do still have that spark of life, and if the zombies can get at them, they are going to get at them. And the Void Claws throwing that necrotic damage that we now know deals double damage to the cultists did you a big, big solid there in the tank castle. As he'll of course rebrand it as whatever he sees fitting. But additionally, the cultists, while they ignored the zombies, Two of them, one on each side of the Coalescence, found the Mistress's presence interesting enough that they tried to kind of probe the defenses. They threw some Sith lightning at her, and they immediately accelerated, decelerated through time, going all the way back to infantile, all the way to super senior citizen stage, kind of like Ant-Man in the Endgame movie, or perhaps more horrifically like the villain in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, when he chose poorly, and he just, all of a sudden, he's super senior, then his skin falls off, and now all of a sudden he's just a skeleton standing there. And to finish matters off, once there's nothing left but a skeleton, it's almost like it kind of quickly balls up like a broken paper cup, and then it just kind of drifts along in the wind, like mask, lightsaber, robes, all torn, tattered, broken, shattered. Nothing left of them whatsoever. That is what happened to this cultist right here when he tried to attack the Time Mistress. She didn't do anything in response. It seemed to be just part of her natural aura that as soon as she was touched, this guy was just instantly obliterated. The same thing happened in the basement of the Daimyo's castle. I forget which night it happened on. I think it was a Wednesday or Thursday night. I don't think it was Sunday morning. But one of the cultists made their way down there at the same time that the Mistress had just brought a couple of characters there, and the Mistress was hanging out in the far back from all the rest of the combat, so the first person the cultist saw was her, and he kind of looked at her, she looked back at him and kind of shook her head like, don't do it, and he was like, Sith lightning, and then he was instantly obliterated as well. So some of the characters have seen this happen. Hopefully enough of those characters will spread the word throughout the rest of our tables to mind how you approach the Time Mistress. I know some of you find her to be a benevolent figure. Some of you do not trust her at all. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in the middle. I'm definitely not going to give that away at this stage of the story. But for those of your characters who have seen this happen, it might be valuable information to pass around to the other 20 characters on your side of the table, because each side, I think, has 21 characters. I think we're rolling with 42 characters here total between all 6 of our tables, 7 characters per table. Math adds up. Tuesday crew, well, they had one area left to explore down in the basement. As we left them off, they were actually entering the basement from this side here, and there is something I need to address here, because I realized I kind of left something unexplained, and I didn't want people to think I was introducing a story element that I really wasn't. So we'll cross that bridge here in a few minutes. Alright, so Tuesday crew has found one of the better stocked armories here once they made their way down below ground. We did have a bit of humor, as if you recall looking at the map of this house on the ground level, all of our player characters were going down the stairs here on the outside. Our NPCs were going down the stairs on the inside. And the way I played that off in-game was basically just that the player characters had kind of gotten away for just long enough that the NPCs were like, where'd they go? I don't know. I think they went to go check out another house. All right, well, how about the rest of us go check out the basement down here while they go do that? Not knowing, of course, that the player characters had really just gone out the front door, around the front yard, and down here to these stairs. And they found a locked door. So the players are trying to pick the lock here, get through the door, as our NPCs come down the stairs. They hear somebody trying to break through the door, assume that they're zombies, so they're all prepared in attack mode as they open the door, get ready to attack, and oh, it's our friends on the other side of the door. Womp womp. So we had a little bit of fun, classic horror mix-up in that respect before we began to explore This basement cellar area, we've got a private restroom that's definitely seen better days. We've got a workout room that's equally seen better days. But the armory itself, everything is in very good condition. Not the special ammunition and what have you that we found at the mall with the combined Monday, Tuesday, and even to an extent Sunday night group by that point. But still valuable nonetheless. And I feel like most of this equipment ended up with our NPCs, except for the Elven Chains, which I think it might have been Grant and Kimberly who ended up with both of those. I could be mistaken. It's been a couple weeks since I listened to those replays. But we also found some frag grenades. Hey, look at me. Sometimes it still works. The brain. We found some extra ammunition, rifle ammunition, pistol ammunition, likewise an extra rifle and a pistol here. This room here was a workshop that contains some rather unique components, also some bedrolls and what have you, but these components are very useful for the artificers. What these are, it's a homebrew mechanic that I just kind of decided to throw in there. Like, artificers don't have the opportunity to do enough things. I just thought it was cool since I had the tokens for this stuff and it benefits the whole party. When I throw these components in, for Justin playing the artificer in this group, it gave him the ability to create one extra uncommon magic item for that day. And recently he found another stash of supplies, so he can now create 2 uncommon items extra per day, or 1 rare item extra per day. You've already got your infusions and your natural artificer abilities that allow you to kind of play around with the magic item system. This was just a supplement to that even, which really is, again, just intended to benefit the entire party. I believe this is the fireman's axe that Brad got his hands on and finally managed to procure an offhand weapon. Likewise, a hibachi grill, a trowel, a set of gardening shears. I believe Brad has picked up everything and put it into his bag throughout the course of the adventure, even if he hasn't told us. I think 2 of these 3 chairs here as well can be seen sticking out the top of his backpack. And possibly this exercise bike. But this room right here, this is where we found a lot of money. And this is one of the few stashes that one table has found and have been able to divide just between themselves. Every table has found degrees of treasure here and there, but 12,000 gold between gems, jewelry, and coins is not anything that any one other table has found, except for Tuesday night. On this map, 12,190 gold pieces of assorted treasure here we can see. You guys found laundry, absolutely. Just wait till the point in the campaign when that comes in really handy, and you guys need to create like an army of decoys, and you're like, dude, we have 90 mannequins and 1,000 sets of clothes. We got this. Monday will be freaking golden. Here is the little potential mistake, misinterpretation I wanted to clear up in this hallway right here. After our characters opened up this locked door, we fought a bunch of zombies. Yeah. Nothing really consequential about that, aside from the fact that there were 3 Belcher variants mixed in there. What is this? Okay, so yeah, the rest of after we made our way through there and we made it into this section here, this is the other side of the bunker. Contains a lot of foodstuffs, dry food, first aid kits, greater first aid kits, a Phoenix down feather, and etc. The miscommunication that I wanted to clear up here in this hallway is after these areas were cleared, we found numerous journals and notes and what have you that seemed to indicate the 2 families that lived in these 2 respective bunkers. Of course, they connected 2 different houses back on the surface. They eventually began to sour on each other over the course of the apocalypse. You get the impression that the apocalypse for these people has been going on for months, if not years, compared to your characters who just got here a few days ago. So, over the course of their different communities existing and eventually souring on each other, they made plans that they were going to basically wipe the other community out, make off with all their goods, and that would be the end of it. And where the potential misunderstanding comes into play is that they did indeed make their way into the central tunnel here, and that was their last exchange. They all went all out and killed each other in that combat. And after that fact is when the galactic Agent Orange virus spread around. This was a community that was already dealing with a zombie apocalypse. Slow zombies, Class D all around, not even the same category of Class D that we're used to. If we're going to categorize them in the same, these would be like Class R zombies. Like that's the weak level of zombie they're used to dealing with before the Zastam Acererak mutated ritual spread like wildfire throughout the galaxy. Good thing for them, they're already dead. They've all killed each other. Their bodies are just laying here decomposing in this corridor. But like many bodies that were already corpses by that point, the mutated virus was able to reanimate these bodies. And that's the fine distinction. I didn't want people to think that it was like The Walking Dead, where no matter how you die, you come back as an undead. This was a special circumstance where they all came into this hallway as human, they all killed each other, and then the ritual virus kind of washed over the area and reanimated these corpses in particular. Just to clear that up in case anybody kind of pulled on that thread and was going to base any kind of RP off of that. I don't think anybody was, but in listening to the replay of it, I was like, ooh, yikes, I think I said something that I didn't intend to, so just wanted to clear that up. And Tuesday, crew, now that we have finally concluded our quest here in the underground, we've gotten all our stuff, we are prepared to take a long rest. We get our long rest. We are now going to, for the first time, use our epic subscriber bonus and summon the campaign merchant to our table. The trick here, however, is that we instead got summoned to the campaign merchant. And that's why all of our Tuesday characters, including our new mascot known as Shrubby, they're all gathered right over here. This is how we finally unlocked the merchant for the Monday, Tuesday, and Sunday night tables. We also discovered in passing that these beacons were set by Vorn Aenor. They are Yuuzhan Vong biotech devices, just like all of their stuff otherwise is. And that's why there are lightning bugs floating within this weird gossamer globe and just kind of repeatedly battering themselves up against the side of it to create this weird little sparkly effect, almost like a flare. Something I created entirely out of thin air, just trying to think like, well, how would a Vong get people's attention if she was trapped in here like this? And other than like writing words on the wall that would be in Vong speech that none of your characters would by default understand, this seemed a pretty cool way to kind of bridge that gap. And once our characters resolved things here, they were, in fact, they caught up with the... I think all of this was already done. Yeah, by the time they came out here, all of the Monday combat in this area was done. They were far enough away on the other side of these locked doors that they didn't hear the sounds of combat happening out here a few storefronts away outside the mall.
So they opted to go up onto the second floor. Yeah, exactly. Monday pulled everything on the first floor other than the generator zombie and then all these ones out here that the cultists took care of. And then some of them were still left aside, like the ones here in the ice cream store. Some of them were left aside for your cleanup duty last night as you guys did the final sweep through the mall. This one right here and Big B's Burgers, nobody touched until last night. These are the 3 cultists that were in observation mode / cleanup mode here on the west side before they decided to make good their retreat. But yes, Tuesday night they went upstairs here at the mall. But not before Sunday G2. This is where they spent the remainder of their campaign. The bulk of their campaign, in fact, after having that very tedious street fight with the thugs and the horde of zombies, we finally make our way here to the Riverside Casino in Laughlin, Nevada, where we are introduced to one crazy-ass Blake Barrington, who was the only person still here from the previous survivors who called this place home. Why he didn't go with them is kind of a mystery. He tried to explain as best he could, but his ramblings are a bit incoherent. Nevertheless, he has proven to be a valuable ally to the Sunday night team, as our plans were going to be to breach the front doors of the casino here that had been barred shut, and somebody actually wrote, "Don't dead, open inside," on the doors right there. What's up, Terry? And yeah, they were set to completely go in the wrong way. Most of the zombies, I mean, we can see them all laying dead over here, but there were about 30-ish scattered here on the main casino floor that, I don't know. I mean, this is a nice little bottleneck right here, but the press rules that I kind of briefly hinted at a couple sessions ago definitely would have pressed our characters out here into the parking lot. And then once you're out here with 30 or so zombies, I don't know that this terrain does you a whole lot of good. Getting up on the bus is a temporary solution because they're just going to climb right up there after you. So Blake definitely did them a solid, leading them around the backside here to the Alchemist workstation. We can actually see some fuel pumps back here. A little Alchemist workshop where our scientist, our residential gas man here, was responsible for providing fuel not only for the vehicles in the community, but also for the generator to keep the power on in the casino. Unfortunately, through the ramblings of Mr. Barrington, we learned as the Sunday night table that the casino was vacated. The zombies had gotten in somehow and basically run everybody out. The survivors had enough tactics and courage remaining to them to at least seal the place up behind them before they made good their escape. But it sounds like that happened a number of months ago. So our characters made their way up the stairwell here into the hotel area of the casino, where we had plenty of zombies as it was to face off even here. Like this was not an easy combat for our low-level G2 party, but this is where they cut their teeth as well. They got some experience. This is where our group levels went up to 3, and then we got our group community challenge up to level 4. We did some extra clearing out of the zombies down here at the end of the hallway. Didn't really find much of use in any of the rooms, just evidence that people once called these places home. And obviously some of these rooms were horribly damaged in the escape/attack. Some of them were damaged in the initial taking of the casino too. This place wasn't empty when these survivors moved in. They had to take it. And the generator room would have just been a shortcut to getting the elevator working, getting the power on. We might have been able to use that in some respects to kind of, maybe with all the slot machines on, kind of keep all of these zombies' attention over here. But for the most part, even while we were fighting in this area, I didn't want to overwhelm the party too much. I can be a good guy sometimes.
I didn't want to overwhelm them too much, so despite the fact that the zombies were all out here in the casino, none of them made their way up here until our party got onto the marble staircase, and then that's where we started having some of them ascend. That's where we have some dead zombies right here. The elevators would have been turned on, so we wouldn't have had to boost people up through the shaft to get up to a level 2 right over here. But overall, having the power on or off was really just a cool addition, but not anything that was essential. And after having cut their teeth and gotten some experience, Ballard had a much different experience with the zombies here than he did in that street fight back in sessions 2, 3, 4-ish. And didn't require a wish spell to get out of it neither. Just had to plant his feet right up here against the backside of this slot machine. And he stood his ground long enough to kill enough zombies to where the rest of the party was eventually able to get out here. Some of them attacked at range, killed some of them from up here at the top of the staircase. A couple party members. Jax, played by Jay, who joined us on Sunday night midway through the campaign here, also went down there and assisted in melee. We've got a solid party here at this point that makes their way up to level 2. Is where the conclusion of our adventure for this table would take place. They were in fact the first table of all of our 6 combined tables to close out their 2024 season. Bad news. The good news is they will be the first table in 2025 to resume our Coalescence Chapter 5. So Sunday morning had that distinction coming into this year. They're still the first table of every gaming week, don't get me wrong on that. But as far as starting off Coalescence Chapter 5, it will be Sunday night and Wednesday night who get their feet wet for the first adventures in that setting. Up here we found the source of our scientist's workstation here. We found numerous items of interest outside, but what we were hoping to find was this, like his desk, his notes, his works. It looks like he took everything that was most important. Like there's a number of useful books here, how-to, general journals that have some random scribblings and what have you through them. But it's all very like having 300 pieces of a 500-piece puzzle. Like you can kind of see the picture that you're trying to make, but you don't have all of what you need. So the best thing that we were able to determine from the notes left behind was that the people who left the casino were heading towards this new settlement that they could see out on the lake to the north. Laughlin is right here for whatever reason. All the map is completely effed up anyway. I'll give you another hint right here. We've already seen a spoiler alert for it. And Sunday morning, Sunday night, 2025. You're welcome. We're going to have some fun. We are going to have some fun. We're going to have me some fun. Look at that thick gloom over it. You can't even barely see Vegas underneath all that shit. Look, Vegas is right on a peninsula, too. It's going to be so much fun. That is for our Sunday tables coming up in 2025. To end off 2024, though, Sunday G2 made their way up to Turtle Cove based on the rumors that the survivors from the casino had likewise went to investigate this strange new settlement that was, they suspected, at Lake Mead, but again, consider that these are people living in 1970s Nevada, so the lake doesn't match the direction that they're used to seeing it as. So it's like Lake Mead ? Nevertheless, it's a city. Maybe there's supplies, maybe there's people, maybe there's possibility of hope. This is where our survivors have headed off to.
and a little behind-the-scenes connection in that respect. Going back here to the mall at level 1. When Blake Barrington was asked about the scientist who created gas, his response was, I don't remember if they asked what his name was, but they said, "Would you know him if you saw him?" Because I remember listening to this replay a few weeks back, and he was like, "Well, yeah, I remember him. He's short, he's redheaded, and he's fat." And I know you can't tell much about Rusty's build from this picture right here, but this was definitely the inspiration that I was drawing upon when Blake was loosely describing the scientist, the gas man, from the survivors at the Laughlin Casino. And it's been Rusty who's been with our Monday night party pretty much this entire time. Just like with Sarah's character on Sunday morning table, how the object of her bounty has been hanging out with the Tuesday NPCs this whole time. It's just one more layer of how it's fun to connect all these tables in ways that I normally wouldn't have the opportunity to do. It's one thing to say, yeah, they've been hanging out with these NPCs, and everybody's like, yeah, big deal. When it's the NPCs that are the object of another table's protection, it kind of adds another level of gravitas, I think, in that respect. Cool stuff. That is one thing I enjoy about the Agent Orange campaigns compared to a lot of the other campaigns I run, is I tend to go heavy on the NPCs for Agent Orange, whereas a lot of other campaigns I might go heavy on monster creation, dungeon design, deviousness, things of that nature, villain presence. I don't really spend a lot of time on NPCs in our typical D&D settings. Even in Coalescence chapters 1 through 3, I might have had like one major NPC for each table throughout 30-something sessions that we ran for all those tables. We are getting close to tying up here. We still got a few more details to cover here. Back to Sunday evening, though. After they cleared the casino and found the notes for Rusty, we also found two valuable NPCs here, one of whom is Leonora, the second of our sentient Class B zombies. And a very interesting tie to our Coalescence Chapter 1 campaign, actually. She has not been seen since then. If you missed the live stream on that Sunday night, almost 2 weeks ago, 12 days ago I think would be the case now, Captain Leonora Gator was our first major NPC to tie our tables in during the original Coalescence campaigns. She was the captain of the Dragon Lotus starship, a very small, modest ship that somehow connected all of our tables, mainly because all of our tables were always out on missions and never on the ship at the same time. Otherwise, there wouldn't be enough room to breathe. It'd be like sardines. But at the point in the bridge between our Coalescence Chapter 1, Coalescence Chapter 2, the Ministry started to make their big appearance. They were the major galactic force, almost the Empire to our Rebellion, except in this case they were called the Ministry to the Confederacy. And this ministry was headed by the Mistress, Iji, the one who would eventually become infected with the Agent Orange virus, who would sacrifice herself in the battle against Nihilus. And whether the Time Mistress is that Iji somehow revived, whether it's another variant of Iji, because even back in the original campaigns, we saw at least 9 versions of her, something like that, because that was part of the Mistress's motivation, was kind of like Highlander. There can only be one. She became aware of the whole multiverse variant concept and became
almost threatened by the fact that there were other versions of her out there, and she made it her #1 quest to kill all of them. But that seems to have kind of got put on hold or stopped entirely once she got infected and Nihilus came into the front. That became more the focus of her plot, it would seem. But Captain Gator, once the Ministry started making their mark, it was Urlazwo, who was one of the head leaders of the Ministry, a Mind Flayer, and his Illithid Nautiloid fleet that were responsible for targeting, attacking, and destroying the Dragon Lotus ship while all of our characters were out on their respective missions. It kind of stranded them in the field for a few sessions. It shut down our ship Merchant for about a month and a half. If your characters remember that, all of our Epic subscribers were like, we can't summon Meridian, who was our connected merchant at that time, because he had gotten killed. He was actually on the Dragon Lotus. He was in the escape pod, and the escape pod had smashed down in a very rough crash landing, and he was basically liquefied in the crash. So it took a number of plots back in that section of the Coalescence campaign just to get things back on track, to get Meridian resurrected. We had to call reinforcements from the core world area, which resulted in the Judicial Star Destroyer being sent as our replacement starship. I never really touched a lot upon it, too. I think I did some RP as Captain Piper a few times, and some of you may have caught this, but it was actually an administrative error that caused a Star Destroyer to be sent to your sector and not another small starship like the Dragon Lotus, because when reinforcements were called for, that's what should have came out here. But I decided to kind of just throw in a little administrative screw up there in the bureaucracy, and all of a sudden this Star Destroyer shows up, and it helped me portray Captain Piper in those early sessions, because it allowed your characters to kind of take a greater leadership role. He's the captain. He's the one that's supposed to be organizing everything. But he's here from like 8 parsecs away, has no idea what's going on. And then beyond that, has no idea even beyond, because there's so much stuff going on now with the Ministry, with Nihilus, things that haven't been reported in the core at all. So he is very much out of his element. So that was just a fun little addition that we threw in there as pertains to the Judicial and its presence. But Captain Gator, all of that really just to go back to her and say that when that Dragon Lotus ship was destroyed, all contact with her was lost. She was presumed dead, along with any other members of the crew. And it isn't until this final session of the Sunday G2 campaign for this season that we hear her story, that there were indeed survivors of the crash, she being one of a handful, and they survived stranded for a number of days, perhaps weeks, before, just like most of you, you experienced the wash of the galactic orange virus sweep over your sector, and her entire crew were turned into the undead. She also was. She doesn't know why, however, she has retained her sentience. Nobody else in the crew did. They're all mindless. They want to eat and feast on living flesh 24/7. She hasn't touched upon whether or not she feels those same compulsions, only that she has some level of sentience. But that is another connection all the way back to Coalescence Chapter 1, all the way out here to Coalescence Chapter 4. And the other interesting NPC that we met here with our Sunday evening party is the dwarf known as Dornskir. Yes, I am the one who crafted all of those undead slayer daggers that you carry around on your person. Throughout our downtime, I will be upgrading those to their true and full purpose. And what that essentially means is these +1 undead daggers undead slaying daggers are going to become +3 daggers, that the extra damage will not only increase, but the extra damage will deal radiant. So if you don't have Orange Peeler by this point in the campaign and you have one of these daggers, it does simulate some of the aspects of Orange Peeler in that you're bypassing the undead resistance because you're dealing holy damage or radiant damage. And one thing that not a lot of our tables have touched on, I think Sunday morning might have been the only one to do so, and you guys might want to revisit how you plan to approach this. But Dornskier, once he's connected to all of our tables during downtime, and that starts now pretty much, he has one more Undead Slayer dagger for each of your tables. So some of you got some through trivia, some of you got some through a second, even harder trivia a few weeks later back in September, and a couple of you have luckily found one in-game. The extras that Dornskier is providing to the tables here will probably be the last Undead Slayers that we encounter for some time at these tables. And we've already given one to Sunday evening because they were here in person and met Dornskier. Sunday morning, I think, was talking about giving theirs tomorrow. But he's already got some magic items that your party has already equipped him with. So you may wish to keep that in PC hands and not necessarily give it to Batman, but that's entirely your call. And likewise, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday tables. I don't think any of your tables have discussed what to do with your new Undead Slayer weapon, whether your character has it, or whether your character already has one, or whether your character doesn't. I think there's at least a handful of characters at each table that don't have one of those, because it's a pretty rare weapon to get, and it's definitely something you should discuss with your table. I will try to tag and remind them, but like always, once I put these rewards out there in your hands, especially if they're rally the table and get conversation going, things like this, I kind of like to leave it in your hands for that exact reason. But yes, our Sunday night table would eventually make their way here to the mall for our final session this most recent Tuesday. We had some final cleanup work to do here with the rest of the goth zombies. We had some stuff to divvy out. The final parts of the combat were a torrent of activity as we had 4 Class C unique zombies. We got the Bozo the Clown variant, we got Jethro Zombie, we got Spirit Squad Zombie, and we got Nacho Libre right here. All 4 of them in a very short span of time. And when it comes to zombie opponents, definitely the hardest that we've faced so far with any table. And this was an exclusive pretty much to Tuesday night, although Monday night did come in, I believe, and clear a good chunk of what was left of those unique zombies right there. And then additionally, this whole swath of Class D zombies came up from up here out of the woodworks. They were all up here in the Huntington's sports store before Zara kind of drew their attention in the penultimate Tuesday night game. But between Monday and Tuesday, being the most important point, we got all of this cleared out. All of these zombies destroyed. All of the cultists, minus the 3 that were in observation, took off and fled the site entirely. Likewise, we've got the Mistress and the Time Dragon, or the Time Mistress and the Demon Dragon, overseeing everything going on here. Everything else pretty much cleared. We did find some interesting objects throughout the mall. Different potions in the forms of stems and pills. We found some elven plate or elven chain in the form of tactical battle vest armor. Oh boy, oh boy. Of course, the crux of our interest would be focused in this hidden room behind the vents in the Sports Authority store, where we found an energy rifle, we found some energy ammunition, we found a radiant mine, some frost missiles, some incendiary grenades, and whatever the heck this weird artifact is that
has really, really effed with two of our characters who dared to lay a hand on it. It sucked them completely out of this reality for a indeterminate amount of time before spitting them back out with 1 hit point and 5 levels of exhaustion. It was not pretty. And yeah, you did. You had a hand that was touching a thing that touched it. That means you touched it with your hand. That's how that goes. And yeah, it's still to be determined what we're going to do with this this interesting item, this plate that we have since determined to be connected to Zastam. We just don't really know how. But we will definitely find out more about that during our downtime. Once we have opportunity, if we spend time studying it too, we will definitely. I'll be interested to see what ideas you guys have in that respect to get us more information. Here we have all of our characters, NPCs, PCs alike from Monday, Tuesday. It's our Sunday evening group that is really only represented here by Xavier and Ballard, who only just showed up at the end of Monday and Tuesday, having cleaned out the entire mall here. So that's why we don't see their representation as much as we did with the other connected table. It wasn't all 3 tables trying to clear the same site. Sunday night was trying to clear that casino. Monday, Tuesday, we're trying to clear the mall. Now we're all here, so we'll see how this team up plays out going forward. But searching through the rest of the mall, like I was saying, we did find some other objects of interest. I think those were mostly back on the first level. Mostly that freight elevator was the only thing that I was kind of like, oh, look over there. We had people literally leaning up against the side of this freight elevator for a good chunk of the combat for a couple weeks. Just nobody could get the doors unstuck. And within there were 4 pistols with 60 rounds of frost ammunition. I mean, not anything that was going to clinch and make this combat like, oh, we would have killed them 1,000 times faster with these. Just would have been cool things to have in your hand. And part of the reason why I like to throw random things like this in random places on the map, so to encourage that bit of exploration, even if it can sometimes bite you in the ass. That's the other side of the coin, because yeah, I'll stick a monster in there just as often as I'll stick an ammo cache just like this. But for those times when you do wander in and you're like, sweet, we got pistols, and then you pass them out through the middle of combat and everybody starts doing ice damage, I think that's pretty cool. Of course, we can save them for after the combat, and we can all find them now and have them prepared at any point for our next adventures going forward. Oh yeah, Woodorm is not a fan of the party split. That, I think, does tie us up nicely for our Monday, Tuesday, and Sunday evening. However, I don't know that we had a whole lot extra here to cover that I forgot. I'm sure there are things I did not touch upon at all. Mostly focused on the story developments more so than individual PC stuff. I do apologize, as that is a failing of mine in these respects, as I tend to just kind of narrate the overall broad strokes. Like, even when I write these narrations out, that's something I've noticed for a number of years, is I don't tend to mention characters by name, because then part of me is like, well, if I mention this character by name, I want to mention all characters by name, and then I'm going down that rabbit hole of trying to search, like, what are the most monumental things that these characters have done, so I make sure to touch upon them. And that, of course, expands the narrative exponentially by trying to incorporate each character's personal experiences. When I'm just the one watching your characters have these experiences, you're the ones actually playing from that perspective. So I'm kind of like, well, they can fill in any blanks in that respect from how their character felt, how their character perceived, what their character did, etc. and so on. Of course, some things that some characters do are inextricably linked to this is how the plot progressed from point A to point B. So you can't talk about the broad strokes without mentioning that character. All of that just to say, if you're disappointed that you're like, wow, I was hoping you'd talk more about my character tonight, I do apologize in that respect. I mean, it's we're 3 hours and 20 minutes in already, and this is just trying to hit the broadest strokes as possible again here. But wrapping up the Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning side of our Coalescence. How much damage did I do? 100. Oh, that was another funny thing, too. I felt I need to do justice to this as well. This is going back to when Wednesday and Thursday first converged before Sunday morning. Tied into it as well. You guys were all still caught out there in the streets watching your precious NPCs get killed, unfortunately. But while our party was all getting caught up in this battle here with the Daimyo, we had 2 player characters who decided that this must be where the action is happening, and they ended up in a little dojo here with some interesting weaponry scattered about and a staircase leading up to a very, very cool little trove of items here. We found some more samurai armor, some cool blades. We found some smoke bombs, some pouches of coin. They did not spend a lot of time looting this area. Had they done so, they might have gotten trapped in here when the Tarrasque made its eventual appearance. But I think each of them grabbed, like I think Katie grabbed the dagger. I think they each grabbed some smoke bombs and some coin and hightailed it out of here before reconvening with the party during the escape from the monstrous Tarrasque. I just found that a little funny side detour right there while everybody's fighting tooth and nail to death. They're just like, ooh, look, we found shinies. Level 2 of the Daimyo Castle here saw almost as much action as did level 1. We had party members from all 3 tables make their way up here at different points. We had most of them ascend from the obvious staircases, although we did have somebody discover the secret room right here. This is one part of the map that I'm still kind of sketchy on as far as like where things connect. And I could be wrong on this, but I eventually had to just make a decision. I'm like, well, these stairs go somewhere. And when I say these stairs, I'm talking about these ones right over here. These stairs go up. These stairs clearly go down. I was able to find the corresponding spot in the basement to where these connect to. I could not find a spot on level 2 where those stairs connect, except right here. That spot on the map would appear to be... Oh, it's this right here. Look at that. What a fool. I finally venture over here and I find the answer to my my question. So this spot on the map just apparently did not exist during our feature, but rather I had those stairs, whoops, connecting up to a hatch right here that led to a hidden room that allowed characters to kind of navigate this battle a little bit more easily. Those are actually hammocks. Yeah, they look like weird flying contraptions, but they're actually hammocks. Yeah, just mounted to the wall and mounted to central pillars located throughout the room. Just an additional area for the guards to sleep throughout here. And likewise, we've got this this hatch over here that connects. It's got to connect somewhere, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure. So we do have a couple other... Oh, okay, yeah, those are all at the pinnacles, at the towers. Those are all pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, we'll have a couple other areas to explore of this castle when the time comes. Mostly we focused on the central pagoda-like building, finding a great deal of opponents on all of these levels. This level alone had no, this level's been cleaned up. We did have a like 5 samurai and 2 assassins kind of taking cover behind these walls right here. Samurai standing up front for defense. Party shredded right through those, and then all of a sudden we switched from one table to another. Half the party froze out, and then a nihilist cultist made their way in here to challenge Steve from Sunday morning in one-on-one combat. And Steve took the fight up to level 4, and this is the one level that hasn't been cleaned out. Doesn't matter if I clean it out here. This is a secondary page, but that is where that combat came to a conclusion. Nihilist cultist number 6 was killed. Most of the combat took place here in the basement level, or at least most of the crucial combat, as this is where the daimyo, after being stricken with the fear of God at seeing Tank's character, he fled all the way down the stairs to here, opened up the secret door behind the shelves right here, locked it up tight behind him, brought an assassin and 3 samurai, and they all took position inside of this room. And then the very first time I moved the map to this level, the dynamic lighting fucked up and everybody saw where the hidden room was, so it kind of spoiled the surprise. But we did eventually make our way into that. Nobody found the secret door from this side in this room, which is where Katie originally came in from. She came in through this secret hatch. She came back up through this one, drew the attention of a couple of guards, went back down through here, kind of looked around, was like, all right, I mean, yeah, it's a cool area, but she didn't really metagame that she saw anything up here, if she did. And then eventually went back up this area and was assisted by Tawny Paw in killing one of those guards who had her attention at that point. Eventually everything, though, comes to a conclusion on level 1. We managed to finish off all of the defenders, all the samurai, all of the assassins, the daimyo himself, of course. We had zombies try to intrude upon the combat. They were turned, and they ran off site, and somewhere in the process seemed to have gathered a number of Class Cs, and the uniques that they brought along with them were those Void Claw zombies I was talking about that did your characters a great solid in the conflict against the Nihilist cultist. But it was kind of that Batmarl was speaking to, because he, like Tank, was one of the few characters who was present in almost every battle of this this sequence here. And he saw the effects of the turn undead. He saw 15 Class D oranges try to wander in, get turned, run away, and then come back with 4 Void Claws and a Class C unique Frost Giant. So when Elaric tried to do a turn undead on like 3 zombies that were remaining, Marl was kind of having none of it. He's like, yeah, we're going to send them away running for what? They're going to come back in 60 seconds with like 8 more in their company, because they're going to go running, screaming, trampling through, drawing the attention of everything within a half-mile radius, and then they're going to turn around and come back with even more. So turn undead is very useful in crucial situations, but if we're trying to clear a safe zone around us, it may not be the most beneficial. So one thing to keep in mind based on the experiences we've already seen at this table, at least. We haven't seen turn undead really bite us in the ass in that respect on the other tables. We've seen it work pretty well, in fact, on the other tables. And, well, darn. I guess one other thing worth mentioning here, back on Castle Level 2, we had one of our samurai drop his samurai sword down the stairway here. Later on, we had a samurai squeezing into a space here with another one of his buddies, roll a natural 1 on his attack, roll I believe another natural 1 on his balance check. They both went tumbling down the stairway. They both were killed by the katana that was just sitting there on the stairs. And later on, it was Sarge who would end up claiming that katana, which has since proven to be a Vorpal sword, with the added effects of Boots of Haste, it would appear. It is also sentient in one of the most badass ways that we've ever had at one of these tables. You didn't think that I was going to be talking trash like this when I would be kicking ass. More info on the artifact we have in the mall. I will during the downtime. I'm only telling us what we already know about this blade so far. But Sarge has claimed this blade, and the one little hint that I have left in that respect is that he's not going to be happy with this sword. It's too good. It's got to have a negative, right? It's a legendary sword that has a very rare magic item added onto it, and it's sentient. I mean, there's got to be a downside, right? Well, our upcoming downtime, probably over this weekend, will reveal a lot about the downside of that sword. And I will pay attention a bit here to the chat here in our closing moments, just to see if there's anything any of you guys wish to add to our Coalescence Chapter 4 conclusion. This is pretty much it, recapping all of the major events that have happened at 6 tables over 45 sessions over 105 days. I am very much looking forward to a nice 5-week break here or so, which history's any indication, it's not going to be much of a break at all. I'm going to be doing a lot of prep work, a lot of organization. I definitely will need maps constructed for our Coalescence Chapter 5. J-Man is likewise going to be starting his campaign on the first week or second week of the new year. So be prepared for that one. We will have one more gaming stream every other week added to the schedule. Tuesday will always be a streaming day, essentially, just like Sunday is now. Will Monday ever find loot better than underwear? No. I just gave you guys a freaking Radiant Mine. Well, I guess you weren't there for it. Tuesday technically found the Radiant Mine. And I think it was J-Man who won the dice off as well, so he gets to decide what to do with it on the Tuesday table. But, yeah, I guess in that respect, no, you're not getting anything better than a Tangerine Speedo. Fresh drawers are important, fresh socks as well. Change your socks every time we stop. Well, that is it, friends. Thank you for the turnout tonight. Thank you for the engagement. Thank you again for the record-breaking hype train this week. It has truly been an incredible experience here at Role Playing Unlimited over the last few months. Turnout, support, ways that were undreamed of, really. I knew that we'd have... I knew that the adventure was going to continue. It was kind of up in the air as far as how full our tables would be. That's something I didn't touch upon a lot either. Like, we did have a bit of turnover here, but considering how it compares to the turnover from the earlier Coalescence tables, like we've got our act down a lot better now. We've got our schedule down a lot more pat. We've kind of cycled through a lot of the people who were interested more in the one-shot gaming every now and then, and the people who are here are more interested in the long haul and the long story of gaming. I'm guessing so. You're here, so I'm guessing you're here because you like what we're doing. And if you didn't, you probably wouldn't be, because other people are running tables, and it's hard to find a steady table. I do think that is one of our greatest strengths here at Role Playing Unlimited, and one of the greatest benefits of the connected Coalescence tables is
Our scheduling is not only solid because we've got solid tables with solid players, but in the events where we're missing 2, 3, even 4 players, we've got 2 other tables occasionally that are directly linked up to them to the point where we can kind of bring in some of those other players to fill in those empty seats and almost make it feel like you're not really missing a beat at all. Sometimes those links aren't going to be as easy to connect, especially once we get into Chapter 5. I am kind of lamenting that, in that we are going to be a bit more spread out than we've been during Chapter 4, so linking those characters will not be as easy. The Time Mistress's capacity to link you guys together will not be as prevalent. That's another spoiler, but you guys will see just how we get to that point over the course of our downtime. So I'm definitely going to be counting on our core tables and their attendance a bit more in 2025 than we have in 2024. But even then, in the worst case scenarios, we always have our extras players who can just create kind of guest star characters who sit in and join for a session and not necessarily play their standing character to guest star, if that makes sense. We are done though, friends. It's been a great 2024. I wouldn't have had it any other way with our campaigns here. I am truly grateful to each of you for everything that you do. I'm truly grateful for you being who you are. And as always, you know that this RU, there is no RU without you. We'll see you around soon, friends. Rest of the year, we'll have video game streams. My voice will be on rest for the next 5 weeks. You're not going to be hearing a whole lot from me, which some of you are probably like, thank God, does he ever shut the fuck up? Have a good one, all.
You can shine brighter than all. You can shine brighter than all. You can shine brighter than all. You can shine brighter than
say you found the story all tucked away in the back of the room, been lost for years, far away from the glory, in the midst of our day-to-day routine, in the corner of our minds. We're not takes more than will. Among the things I like to do, craving is one for two, and the light of the day that passes on will somehow be gone.